What does that mean to those of us?
It's a game
You'll
that
see.
is a
No, don't tell her.
sequel-
Just let her find out. Let her
I just
learn.
want to know what the letters stand for.
C
Philip
D
Seedy Eye.
imagery.
Seedy Interactive? What?
Oh, it's interactive? I thought it was imagery. What the fuck, man?
No, the Seedy Eye was one of
Brennan says, can I
the
join voice and
CD
resist the
book
urge to make
standards.
bad puns?
Yeah, boy, I'm glad you're back. I hope you were feeling slightly better.
I realized that I had half like fallen asleep and then got woken up by half a snore, so came back.
Okay.
Welcome back.
I mean, I'm sorry, man. This sounds like I had a miserable day.
Yeah, that's fine. That's whatever. So yeah, the CDI was the standard spelled out in the Green Book format.
CDI, not initialism. Cool. I thought you were actually spelling out the letters C, D, and I.
Yeah, that's the name.
CD-I, CD Interactive.
No, but on the screen it said SEEDY.
Yeah, that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, they're clouding on the original.
They're
You're
clever.
trying
That's the
to
thing.
break me.
This is a
Very
bunch
low
of people who are unironically fans of the Legend of Zelda games for the Philips CD Interactive.
Program.
They are regarded as very bad games, but very good memes. Which is why, Cassandra Lynn, I'm going to give you this very important leak. Here we go. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but you do need to click it. This is important.
You sent me a thing.
I haven't yet. I'm working on it.
Okay.
Really like the random color book designations for forms of CD that no one has ever actually used.
Yep. Let's see. I'm just going to toss it in general. But I'm going to at Cassandra Lynn because I'm nice. Behold! I like the Kelly Blue Book value. That's how you determine the value of your car.
The blue book is for enhanced CD, CD Extra, CD Plus. The purple book for double density CDs that no one has ever used in their lives.
Yeah, double density CDs are like I've seen the DVDs in use.
Yeah, people use that. Double density CDs was like a format announced in 2000. To my knowledge, basically no one ever used it for anything. There were commercial DD-CD drives, and machines that could burn double-density CDs, but yeah, good luck finding something that could actually play them.
Oh, did I miss beat 'em times?
You must beat 'em up time.
We got
It's
angry
now
at the
time
third
for
level
the
and gave up.
The simple fact of the matter is that the game is very frustrating.
So is this like a game that's on Steam in the style of CDI, or are you actually playing it on
in style?
It's on
in the style of a CDI game.
It's not a game that they made for actual CDI hardware that you need to run a CDI emulator for.
It would.
That would be beautiful, but
CD
also
interactive hardware is
unworkable,
extremely limited, which is part of why.
I think the largest you could make a level with that stuff was like 1.5 screens, which is incredible. I'm sure that with incredible programming acumen, you could make much bigger. But that was the general knowledge was this was how big you can go.
And I will point out the fact that the plot of what's going on here is pretty much barely with the names changed. It's exactly picking up where Wanda Gamelon left off, because Wanda Gamelon ends with the guy who
They
portrayed
gave Link a
them.
mustache. It's fine.
But the dude who portrayed them is like sentenced to cleaning the castles and stuff. And this picks up with that same guy 10 years later, still cleaning the castles, bringing not Ganon back. Like, it is very much just a continuation of the plot. For the 6 people that know the Wand of Gimmelon lore.
Yeah, like everything about like how this cutscene is framed is also designed to call to mind limitations of the Seedy Eye, where things will just sort of like you'll have a static background where different people are just popping in front of a lot.
Oh, not a problem. My ancestors hid sacred candles throughout the kingdom.
And just like, do not look at the king's fingers.
I would if they would just stop flashing them in front of the camera. I hate it.
I place teleportation scrolls throughout the kingdom that you may use, so long as the dark fog.
Musically enough, the one complaint I have about the characterization in this is that because they give you the competent princess and everyone else is kind of a loser, they basically write her as Leela from Futurama. Like, it's weird how much that personality syncs up.
Want to defeat Dimer?
Did anyone eat Nocturok though?
Press jump to leap.
Do they get hungry enough to eat a Nocturok?
Press attack to slash your sword.
Okay, that's way more than any character animates in the CDI.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
And people. It hurts only those that
they're allowed to evoke the jank without actually like painstakingly recreating it.
For example, you can successfully jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, that's the worst.
That's also something that they fixed in the remake or the remake.
Yeah, because this developer did like a remake of the Zelda CDI games. This game is called Arzette,
crouch by moving down. Moving while crouching
not to be confused with game developer Arzette.
gets you into tight spaces. Your magic pouch holds your items.
And also you will note that, like, basically the minute we get into, like, this is just a tutorial area, but the minute we get
Oh
into...
god, they just did the duck walk joke, Jesus.
The what now joke?
So, like, the saying, like, oh, if I'm crouching and I walk, I can do the duck walk is, like, straight up a line ripped straight from Link the Faces of Evil. It is a thing that is iconic among people who care about Link the Faces of Evil.
So like 18 guys who like made YouTube poops their religion.
Kinda, yeah, but I think I think the person who made this unironically likes it.
Oh no,
I mean,
no, you
I
can't
will
make
say that this game
you can't
is
make
very
a whole ass video game and still be at ironic levels. Many people thought
Well,
they could,
the way I would
and they
describe
couldn't.
it, yeah, like the way I would describe it is I don't think this person ever even thought that they were being ironic about it.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I mean, some of
That's
the
a good
animations
thing.
you'll see are... It's that level of bad that you can only get, like, when you carefully know what you're looking at. Like, when I say
What?
bad, I mean, like, it looks gross, but it's, like, perfectly emulating the CDI nonsense.
Yeah, the way that things explode is also like like the way sprites explode into like just a completely unrelated effect is also ripped straight from the CDI style.
Weirdly, it reminds me of fucking the Games Factory games where they had a bunch of like preloaded explosion animations, just like as part of the like suit or whatever. And everybody making a fan game would just use those all the time. They were
Like, I mean,
really gross. They were hilarious.
people use the things that draw them in, which is to say, like, if I were to make a video game, all of the explosion effects would be the same as what happens whenever Master Shake throws a phone.
Yeah.
Whenever Master Shake throws anything.
Yeah, but most often it's the phone.
Most often it's the phone.
A small enough prop to fit in his hand.
Yeah, the phone or the remote.
Yeah. I am teaching this object a lesson. If it doesn't want to get hit anymore, it will straighten up and fly right.
I was watching some fucking Aqua Teen clips, and one of my absolute favorite in it is like when he thinks he has a child and he's trying to teach him tennis, and like the kid's just sobbing, and Shake goes, come here, just like, like acting like he's gonna be a supportive parent, and just immediately screams, why do you disappoint me?
Also, this is just Hotel Mario.
Yeah.
You gotta if you're doing CDI, you have to do Hotel Mario. It's not even an option.
Like my real beef is that no one's doing this, but for Zelda's Adventure, the one with the live action digitized people.
I've never seen that, and I'm not planning on changing that.
You should, because every single character looks like they're meant to be airbrushed on a van.
That is cool as shit.
Yes.
Why is there a tree stump throwing axes at you?
I mean, it's something.
Why not?
Why ask
Listen,
why? Try
if you had axes, can you honestly tell me that you wouldn't be throwing them at Gogglebob?
I mean, mostly because Gogglebob is too far away for me to throw them at.
Yeah, but like if you step into your field of view.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's not a lack of intent, that's a lack of opportunity.
Because like the tree stump's not throwing axes at you when you're off screen.
Right, but why is the tree stump sentient enough to throw axes, I guess?
It's a magical world.
Magical world, Hobbs, old buddy. Let's go exploring. Try again!
There you go.
Yeah, I will
What
say,
is the name of this
if anybody's
game,
ever
Gogglebob?
played
Arzette.
the CDI
How do you
games,
spell that?
Arzette.
the CDI games have a immense number of random birds that fly at you from nowhere. Like that is the number one leading cause of death for Zeldas.
So like real Ninja Gaiden shit. Alright, I'm on board.
Pretty much.
I'm into it.
It's a game with like a really fucked up looking visual style. Shinobi Legions on the Saturn. Anyone here play that?
No.
No.
That's digitized Shinobi.
That's
Like it plays like Revenge of Shinobi, but it's got digitized sprites and FMV cutscenes.
bizarre.
So, is it like Mortal Kombat Mythologies?
I mean, in terms of its look, it's that if it were patterned after Revenge of Shinobi. It's a very strange looking game.
I was gonna say, when you guys were trying to explain CDI to me, because now that I've pulled up the wiki, why you couldn't just say like CD-ROM, only more information on the disc?
Because that does not begin to cover what a CDI is. Sure, you could put more information on a CD-ROM disc, but that tells you nothing. Like, that would make you think, I'm sure this was very helpful for guys like who wanted to install Microsoft Excel on their computers in 1994. No, that's not what it was.
Well,
It was a video game system that predated the PlayStation that looked like this shit.
The thing that you kind of have to understand to get what CDI was going for is that it's from a period where people thought that like you could sell something on the basis of it's multimedia.
Yeah.
Like this was designed to display short video clips, pictures, and sound at the same time. And it was designed to be moved through with a remote. And so CDI games are all kind of having to work within standards laid down for, and like amounts of memory made for showing a short video clip or a picture and sound at the same time, while still working within and like accepting inputs from one, maybe two buttons at the same time.
So, like, to piggyback off of what Fanboy is saying right here, Cassandra, when you were a child, did your parents install like a fucking digital encyclopedia on the family PC in the vain attempt to make you learn something?
Do you remember last week when we were talking about the Lego Island game?
No, I don't.
It's not like Lego Island is a more advanced version of the multimedia game. It's true.
Yes, but like what I'm saying is the CDI was made. My folks had like the fucking Encyclopedia Britannica on like 4 CD-ROMs or however the fuck many back when I was a kid, and I would click around that stuff. But that's really the template that the CDI was sort of built for. A bunch of videos, some light sounds, maybe a shitload of text. Borderline educational. Couldn't really do video game shit, though.
I was going to say, until you said educational, I was going to say Myst.
Myst is a multimedia game.
Myst absolutely would fit that mold. I'm betting if somebody really got super ambitious, they could probably port Myst to CDI. I believe it. It would be a miserable experience. Load times would be intolerable, but it could be done, I'm betting.
Someone did port Myst to the Philips CDI. That was one of the games on it.
Oh, fuck. I had no idea. I was just spitballing.
Yeah.
Was it playable?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's Myst. Most of it is exactly what the CDI is built for. It is a collection of images and sound and some short video clips. And you only can ever press one button at a time.
Yeah, that's
right. The way you described it was okay, so Myst, but we had Myst on Windows, so
yeah.
We have Myst at
home. I still own the discs. Mm-hmm. I just need to find a computer that I can, that has a CD player.
But
here's
space moves.
You guys remember the incredible Power Up Comics storyline where half the cast gets castrated and immediately just becomes incredibly calm and starts playing Myst? Power Up Comics
I probably saw that at least once, but I don't remember it.
I'll remember that.
The entire through line was that Shadow had a half sister but looked exactly like him, but a girl, and everybody thought that he had transitioned. So was trying to be super supportive. It was their Pride Month storyline.
What a story!
And their Pride Month storylines are people say, "Oh, you can't write trans jokes." No, you fucking can. You just gotta commit.
Also, to bow to the Myst discussion occurring in the chat. It's wild how many Myst games were ultimately made, and it's also wild that they just stopped at some point.
I do not understand what... I mean, it'd be like if frickin' Street Fighter 2 came out, and everyone was into fighting games, and then just they never existed ever again.
It's there's Riven, and that's the one people remember.
Yeah. Was there a third? I swear there was a third.
There's 5 main ones and an MMO.
And a book series!
No, I don't believe you.
Yeah, Myst,
I have
Riven,
5 Myst games on Steam. And
Riven. Yeah, Myst, Riven the sequel to Myst, Myst 3 Exile, Myst 4, I forget what its subtitle is, and Myst 5 End of Ages, plus Uru Live, which was the MMO, and then there's the remake Real Myst.
That's the one that's in real 3D, right?
That's a really unique, that's a really interesting thing to play, just because it's someone having to interpolate. Okay, what does everything look like in an actual 3D space?
Okay,
and then
3 was Exile, 4 was Revelation.
Revelations, and then 5 was End of Ages.
That's an interesting question because.
Oh yeah, there it is. Sorry, go ahead.
It's an interesting question because I've played a little bit of Myst and the graphics looked like 3D renders. I'm pretty sure they were.
Yeah, they were 3D renders,
right? But that's and I remember transitioning from one render to the next since it was literally just a collection of PNGs or JPEGs or whatever the file format was. The game, but they seemed at least sort of continuous. The idea that somebody had modeled most of an island and then one would hope enough original assets existed to at least do a little bit of the work for them, so they weren't entirely working backwards from 420 by 140 images.
Given how old that was and how bad people are at keeping hold of things, I would not be surprised if they had very little of the original code to work from.
That would not surprise me either. The original assets, those are just fucking gone.
Yeah, the same developer has made additional things that are Myst adjacent. There's Obduction, spelled with an O.
Of course.
And then there's something called Firmament. that came out, I believe, last year.
There was a design delve video on like one of the games made by the Mist dudes that I thought was very fascinating because it was about the most pointlessly complicated puzzle in any video game ever. And that's like a loaded phrase because people would say, well, puzzles are supposed to be complicated. It's good when the puzzle is complicated. Which, fair, sometimes it is. But this was like just the most horrible make-work puzzle imaginable. Like 20 minutes just to check, just so you could like check to see how many times you turned the thing and if those turns were in the right position. Literally just a horrendous amount of backtracking.
I mean, Myst was always a case where like the puzzle was two-step. It was both figuring out what the mechanics of the puzzle were and then what you were intended to do with the mechanics.
Understood, but this was a case where where figuring out the mechanics wasn't that difficult, but even if you knew the answer, it still took like 30 minutes to solve. And if you did it perfectly.
It was this in Myst? Was this the
No, this wasn't in Myst. This was in the creators of Myst's most recent.
This was in like Firmament, or Firmament would have been it.
I think it was Firmament, yeah.
Because I feel like there was that one puzzle in Myst at the the lake river area where you had to turn the knobs, and it very much later reminded me of the water temple in Ocarina of Time, and I very much do not mean that as a compliment.
I mean, there's a lot of knob turning in general.
A lot of knob turning.
Also, I'm looking at the chat again. Why would you bring up a Tetris sequel and not be thinking of Tetris 2?
Are we talking about Tetris Blast? Or new
No,
Tetris?
we're talking about Tetris 2.
Okay, the game I was thinking of was Abduction. And
that's the one before their most recent one.
Yeah, and here's the video I was talking about, which is a very nice one. The escapist guys all went and made their own thing, and it's actually quite good. Like, they got some actual talent there. Because the escapist is dead now. They actually, like, just stabbed a nail in his heart on the way out. Not coming back, life's unfair.
Always good. I'm thinking about, like, one of the most ridiculous, regrettable questions that I have ever seen at a convention panel. So I went to a panel. Ubisoft was hyping up some Tetris game that has long since disappeared, but they got Alexei Pajitnov to be there, so I had to go because I got a signed poster from Alexei Pajitnov, so that was worth it for me.
That's awesome. That was cool as hell.
No, it was not. But basically, at some point, the presenter asks a question that I think nearly caused Pajitnov's brain to sort of shut down. Because
it's impressive because you invented Tetris.
Well, because the question was so ill-conceived. So it was just
tell me about Tetris's armpits.
It was specifically why there weren't more shapes in Tetris. And him having to try to sit there and explain how mathematically, with the rules in place, that wasn't possible.
I wonder. You ever see a guy say something and you're like, "Oh no, I bet they thought they were onto something." That had to be one of those moments. It's just like, "Oh no, he's not pulling my leg. He
thinks he's cooking." But
wait, how long ago was that?
Would have been nearly 10 years ago.
Okay. No, I'm just I have come to appreciate how my background is psychology.
Yeah.
So for Tetris to have become an actual useful trauma deterrent for the brain is fascinating to me.
Oh yeah.
And I would have enjoyed having questions on that.
Yeah. It was a game convention, so most of the questions were nonsense, but There was a part of me that regretted not, like, if I hadn't already gotten lucky enough to, like, because, like, the way you got assigned anything from him was to have been selected and answered a trivia question correctly. And I got selected, like, this was a question with 4 answers, and I was selected 3rd because 2 people got it wrong. And, again,
50-50.
Pajitnov was clearly flummoxed that people didn't just immediately guess the correct one, because it was like, what satellite was Tetris like shot into space with? And it was like, 2 of them had like English names, one of them had a Chinese name, one of them had a Russian name. It was Soyuz, and
yeah, like
the signed poster just says. Has his name and then says ... it's Soyuz.
That is amazing that they didn't get it. Well, now that Fanboy's told his awkward PAX experience story, would you like to hear my awkward PAX
story?
That's a great story. That's a great story. Would you like to hear my awkward PAX experience story?
Does it involve trivia questions?
No.
This could be Yeek. This is gonna be Yeek.
Wait, is
no, it's not Yeek. It's not Yeek. It's not the time. It's not the time. I walked up to the Yeek guy. I was talking to Cal Scrub in front of the Yeek stand and said, "Was this game supposed to come out 4 years ago?" And the guy behind me that I did not know was there just sighed really heavily and said, "Yeah."
Been working on
it.
It's also not Purse Bourbon either, because that was only adjacent to PAX.
Yeah, I was only adjacent to PAX. No, it is. I'm sure Cal Scrub was present for this one.
Yes, I was.
It was.
I was right next to you.
It
gonna
was.
Be Purse Lady?
No. God,
no, it's not Purse Bourbon. We just discussed this.
We covered this. No, it was. Hey, so what are you guys doing about performance-enhancing drugs?
God, I was there for that as well. Jesus.
Well, they're so easy to get.
This was for esports, people abusing things like ADHD medication.
Methamphetamines, basically, your standard suit. Honestly, I thought the presentation was actually pretty good because, esports is like a weird, stressful
Don't forget
thing.
our esports stream.
It is a weird, stressful thing that we have invented, in the last 10 years. It is new. It does have, unforeseen problems and consequences that we don't necessarily have answers to. But I have never been more disappointed in a bunch of people who supposedly are here to help.
Yeah,
because they were doing great. Right until...
I'm pretty sure we met at a PAX East.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. We met at a PAX East for the first time. It was the first time I met Fanboy as well, I believe.
Nope. The first time you met me was the prior PAX Prime.
But wait.
You would have met me at PAX Prime 2013.
Yeah, it was PAX Prime.
And then you had a spare ticket for PAX East, and so invited me along.
Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Well, if y'all ever feel like going to Unplugged, let me know.
I think that much concentrated board game would kill several of us.
Yeah, I would not survive.
I like that it's not just one or two, no, several.
I will play board games as a social event, but I will never go out of my way to play board games.
Yeah, I've gone to several of Shivam's birthday bashes, Talcon he calls them.
Yeah.
And I've always had a good time, but I'm not there for board games. I'm there for the people.
The board games are an excuse to meet people.
I play board games mostly just to be polite. So the idea of going to an entire convention for board games, that's not me. I would not thrive in this environment.
That's fair. There are other things that occur, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to understanding it as a board game convention.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it is primarily board game focused, but obviously there's also vendors, and it's just a good time to be in Philly, honestly.
Honestly, I feel like I would just plan to go visit Philadelphia with y'all instead of worrying about a convention and probably find a cheaper time to be there.
That's fair. All of that, very fair.
Yeah.
Just to say, one day there will be an even worse meetup, and it'll be horrible.
That'll be great.
It will
have a
be even
blast.
worse.
It'll be awesome. Okay, I want to say something
So wait,
about the video game.
When's your birthday again?
April.
Too soon.
Too soon. I want to say something about the game Gogglebob is playing really quickly. I really like this like version. Seedy Eye was a lot of terrible things, but one thing that I always thought was interesting is that it was a glimpse into an idea of a world where 2D side-scrolling video games were not tile-based. This is all like hand-painted.
Yeah, it was not a like systems prior to and after the CDI were good at 2D because they had like things built into hardware to make them good at moving generating and moving tiles around.
Yeah.
CDI didn't have that hardware, so all of the backdrops basically had to be essentially like
enormous pictures.
We don't use this term, but they're pre-rendered backgrounds like on a PlayStation.
Yeah, it's fascinating. You don't see this, and it's kind of neat to just see I don't think it's practical because like tile-based not only allows games to scroll more quickly, it saves the artists thousands of hours. It allows you to just set up stuff that like looks like stuff and then arrange it as needed. I am certain that like if you had to make levels like just off the top of my head, Sonic 3 has enormous levels. If you had to like draw those as one enormous picture, that would be just sentencing an artist to death for no reason.
It would also take up an ungodly amount of screen memory all at once.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, which
this
again is why CDI levels were
we're not even,
two screens.
We're not even claiming this is possible. We are just saying that like if it were possible, it would be a nightmare. Which is why when we have retro-styled games like today, like say Shovel Knight, they still essentially use tiles. Maybe not necessarily like in the same way a Genesis or a Nintendo would, but it's still very much, we made these 18 or however many background tiles, and we are going to arrange them as needed to make pictures.
Cease this laughter. You will.
Oh my God, this horse man. Does anyone else remember the oh God, I'm both dating myself and revealing the rot in the center of my soul here. Do you guys remember those memes of the horseman from 4chan in 2005?
I remember a lot of Battle Chan memes. Don't know that one.
Your resistance only makes my penis stronger.
Oh God, I've heard that phrase, but I was not tainted so severely.
It was always on this picture of a weird horse dude.
I'm sure that you could ask Can and they would immediately be able to tell you where it came from.
Oh, 100%. Can would have no problem telling me exactly where it came from.
Can would have made a shrine to it.
I only ever saw the remnants of it. The memes upon memes upon memes of it.
I was going to ask if this was the inspiration for BoJack Horseman.
Yes. This game that came out this year was in fact the inspiration for BoJack Horseman.
Clearly.
BoJack Horseman did not exist before this game.
Wait, this game only came out this year?
This
game came out a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, very new.
Shit. I was we're only 2 months into the year. What do you mean?
I mean, it came out 2 months. I mean, it came out less than 2 months ago. This is a very new game.
Clearly.
Yeah, it is supposed to look retro, but it is.
Well,
it is nailing the aesthetic.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of those remakes or whatever you want to call it that it is what your brain might remember it looking like, but it is definitely better than that.
It also actually controls.
That too.
Was it Kane that had a tweet that was that was lamenting how there's a lot of supposed retro style games that are really just aping Shovel Knight style?
I believe Kane said that, yes.
Yeah, that sounds like a very Kane thing to say.
Which also isn't wrong.
I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I don't think you need to limit yourself to an NES color set to make a retro style game.
Well, I think the point Kane was making was like, so Shovel Knight made a decision, and that's cool because they made it clear, like, you know, they had thought behind their decision.
Yeah.
But then a lot of games like aren't like copying Shovel Knight's decision because they came to the same conclusions. They're just copying it because it's there to be copied, if that makes sense. Or at least
that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And that is like worth examining because
they were copying Shovel Knight, not necessarily NES.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the reason something made a decision, you can get some very strange results.
Yeah, like I personally sort of love the copy of a copy of a copy territory where like nothing means anything anymore.
Which would be most modern Mega Man knockoffs.
Yeah, exactly. Those are a treasure trove of why did you do this? Well, it looked a little bit like Mega Man. And people seem to like that. So that's what we did. Okay, like, there is no light here at all. Like,
yeah, well, I have a lantern, but I ran out of
Yeah,
oil.
I think he's out of lantern. It's yours, my friend.
You should be able to like see the outline of things with the echoes of your footsteps. She should be part bat.
She should be part bat.
oh my god, this creature's eyes.
No thanks.
Yeah, I think this is definitely a playoff. The Seedy Eye fairy is kind of insane. And fairy dust also was something that came up like 70 times in the Zelda game because that was, for whatever reason, there were like 3 different side quests that fairy dust was the answer to.
Oh, Gogglebob. Unrelated to anything at all. I have been playing Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night.
Yes.
The
Excellent
3D one. The very good game. It is very good. I have not played it before now, but my wife gave me 3 months of Xbox Game Pass, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably beat one Metroidvania in 3 months.
And Pete, I would like you to know that as somebody who personally funded that game, I feel invested in your answer.
Okay, well, I think it's very good. I like it a lot.
My name is in the credits.
It's a very nice video game. But we were having a discussion on like how they added some horny outfits into it. And like my immediate question was, where's the bunny girl? There needs to be a bunny girl. Like, where's my fucking Playboy bunny? And you were like, I don't think there is one. And I'm like, well, then why even bother?
Did you find a bunny girl?
Good news. I found the bunny girl.
You shouldn't be surprised.
It's not a costume. It's like one of the equipable shards that just turns you into a bunny girl and also gives you a kick that does like quadruple
I had
damage.
forgotten about that, but that is definitely in there. I remember that now.
Yeah, so the game does in fact have a bunny girl and I win.
Of course,
all my decisions have been validated.
Which game is this again?
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night.
Ritual of the Night.
And I understand you're playing this for free, but if you ever want to get around to the 8-bit games that were like,
well, no, I played those. I played the first one. Is there a second one?
Yeah, there's Curse of the Moon too, and it's really fucking hard, but it's good.
It's really fucking hard, but
I really enjoyed Curse of the Moon 1, so I will probably enjoy that too.
Wait, you're in the credits?
I mean, both me and Bob should be in the credits. We both kickstarted it.
I tried it.
I should be in the credits.
I forgot about there being a Kickstarter.
The problem is the credits are massive.
I was about to say, they're like
Kickstarter levels of credits.
Like a half hour long.
They're less embarrassing than the Mighty No. 9 one, where they, like, for some reason, credited every backer who didn't bother submitting their name separately. And thus took 4 hours.
Yep.
And the Mighty No. 9 one also, I love that it numbered how quickly you supported them. So it was just
everyone got
so you could quickly see who had decided that they no longer cared by the time they were asking for credit names.
Oh, they basically sorted by who paid first?
Yeah, it was like, because like a lot of them were just a generous backer, number 12. But the problem is that there were like 70,000 backers.
Yeah, it was a very popular Kickstarter. It was very successful. And then
Guinness World Records for credits length.
Yep, and then And then
Not sure if that's something you want.
everything else regarding that game occurred in sequence, and it was kind of ugly.
I have
Bad times.
the attempts they made to make a box copy of it. It was funny.
It's not a great box. It's not a great box.
I'll tell you this though, for all the duds of like Mighty Number 9, I think Kickstarter has come out with some valuable games I've kickstarted from it. So
I mean,
I wouldn't even call it Mighty Number 9 a total dud. It's just, it just was.
yeah.
It is a regression to mean for Mega Man games, which is to say a lot of them are kind of just okay.
I mean, I hate to say it, but Mighty Number 9 was 100% a Zero game. Like, but
it's not a good Zero game.
It's not a good Zero game, but and also pretty much with the exception of Mega Man X, literally every Mega Man game, every Mega Man franchise, of which there are many, didn't get good until 2. So, obviously...
I would say Zero One is good. I'll disagree with you on that.
Which one?
01.
Mega Man Zero?
Yeah, the original Mega Man Zero, I would say, is good.
Yeah, no, I love that game. That game's awesome.
I'm not going to say that it is bad, but I will say that 2 and 3 are better.
Yeah, but Mega Man Zero, if you haven't played 2 or 3, is still like, oh, this is a great game. It's like a 8 or 9 out of 10 GBA game.
Yeah,
okay, I'll give you that.
I would call it
Zero ZX.
I really liked it.
Zex is really cool. It didn't have enough iterations to fully get itself down, but I think both of them are good for different reasons.
I mean, Zex has a very cool ability to finally play as all the quote-unquote robot masters that you'd ever
The big problem you run into with that, and the thing that stopped me the first time I played Advent, because I hadn't played the first one and thought that that was all I was going to get for new powers, was I got the first one and I was like, this thing sucks to play as.
Well, that's the thing, is that you would get
I got
something
the plant.
and it sucked.
Yeah,
I got the plant and it's like, oh, this sucks ass to be. I don't want to be this.
I especially love... Okay, so the simple fact of the matter is, in ZX Advent, you get to play as every single boss in the game. And that can actually be a ton of fun once you actually start getting to, the Robot Master style bosses, who have, really interesting movesets and shit. But there's also an enormous, half the screen filling whale.
I think it's a crocodile.
And you can't move on land because you are a whale.
There are 5 water sections in the entire game.
So you can turn into the whale just in any given level, and he will just sit there. That's all he's capable of doing.
I think he even makes a Symphony of the Night what? He doesn't say what, but he just kind of makes a noise oh.
Makes a noise of disbelief.
But his power is that he freezes time, so theoretically, if you could use him everywhere, he'd be overpowered.
Yeah, but no, I think ZX Advent is a fine little game. I would say it definitely improved on ZX's map, which is bad. It's just a bad map system. They had not figured out how to do a map yet.
ZX's map is clearly not part of the problem is that you look at ZX and you think Metroid because that's logical and makes sense, but the way that its map is structured is much more in common with certain kinds of old Japanese side-scrolling action RPG.
I would say it's Link's Adventure, which is
it's Adventure of Link. Yeah. It's Kenseiden. It's
Wonder Boy.
XDR. It's
3.
Yeah, Wonder Boy is a big one. It's all these things that have connected maps, but not a logically consistent world map. And the issue is that people had years and years of Metroid that connects in a way that makes some kind of logical sense. And so when you throw that kind of map at them, the response is, what the fuck?
Not an unreasonable response.
And two, that people have largely moved on from wanting that kind of map.
I mean, I thought Wonder Boy was pretty great.
I think, speaking of anyone who's skipped out on Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom, that game's amazing, but...
I think I played that one a little bit. I need to go back to it. I have not...
Yeah, it's really good.
But it is rad as hell. It's a good-ass game.
The other thing I was going to say was in response to Trinant talking about Way Forward in the chat, Yeah, the Way Forward is so contributing to making to Ritual of the Night. People who worked on that, I believe, are still working on the Classic Mode 2 DLC.
Yes, I have heard that. And Classic Mode 1 was pretty damn good.
Yeah, there is to this point. I would say that Bloodstained and all of its adjacent content has a 100% batting average, batting 1,000.
Yeah, no, they're doing great. Ritual. What was the one called? It's Circle of the Moon? Something?
Curse of the Moon. Curse of the Moon 1 and 2. This was a Kickstarter for one game, and it somehow produced 3 good games.
Yeah.
I was about to say, the things were advertised as part of the Kickstarter as, modes, but they really did quickly mushroom.
Well, it was...
What are they? They're
It was 2 things, because there was a classic mode that was brought up, but there was also a...
throwback game.
There was a bonus game that was not fully detailed.
But that became 2 games on its own.
Yeah, and both of them are great, and they're both quite distinct from each other.
One of them has a
corgi and a robot. Yeah, and the only non-villainous appearance of Hot Nun.
Yes.
But
yeah, I do have to say the horny is strong with that character.
They wore their hearts on their sleeves with her. She is the boobs nun. Her name is Dominique, I think.
Oh,
yeah, Dominique.
Yeah, boobs nun.
You were not thinking. You were not being subtle with that. In general, I would argue that horny is at its best when it is not trying to be subtle. Just say what you want so that I can decide whether I care.
There's nothing in this world that just annoys me. It doesn't really piss me off, but I'm always just seriously, man, than what I call plausibly deniably horny. Where it's
God,
yeah, man, I just want to talk.
That reminds me, did anybody see the preview nonsense for 2B and Grand Blue?
No,
because I don't care about Grand Blue, and I don't care about Nier Automata.
Never give a shit about Grand Blue. As far as I'm aware, it's just something that exists explicitly so Dojin artists can put food on the table.
Well, it is a fighting game, and what it is they went the extra mile.
Oh, that's what it was. Because I was thinking of the fucking.
I thought it was a mobile game, and
the original Grand Blue Fantasy is. Then there's Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which is the fighting
Rising
game.
Is the current one, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's what I thought that Bob must be referring to, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which is the action RPG Monster Hunter clone.
Yeah, no, this is the fighting game, and it's got 2B as a downloadable character, and even though it's a 2D fighting game that is it's in the style of being sprite based. Even though it's in that style, you can do the 2B explosion, and it does blow her clothes off. So,
it's all modeled.
Yeah. But it's not a game that otherwise has what's the word I'm looking for? Clothing modifications.
Deformation.
It's not
clothing damage
or something. Yeah.
Which also had 2B as a DLC character in 6.
Yes.
Yeah, it would have been 6.
Yeah, this is now
How many
2B.
things has 2B fucking been in?
2B is almost public domain at this stage.
Yeah, she has appeared as a guest character in more games than she actually started.
Well, yeah, because she's appeared in more than one game. But,
I was about to say because she only started one game.
But man, I'm genuinely sick of the character at this stage.
Same, honestly. People tell me Nier's great, Nier Automata is great. I don't care. I just don't care.
I'm waiting for the 2B and the Steamboat Willie mashup.
Oh god. Well, there will be a bunch of Tohos on there too.
I'll say this about Nier Automata when I played it. It's good.
I'm sure it's fine.
2B's fine, but yeah, it's fine. Well, it has some good parts, just not if somebody lists the reasons they don't like it, I'd be like, yeah. You ever have that where it's just a game, it's just
problems. Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
it's one of those things that my biggest problem is that Yoko Taro's writing does not speak to me.
Yeah, and
And
like
so
I'd be like, I get that.
If that doesn't speak to you, there's like the game's not bad, but there's like a million things like it.
Yeah,
like
I will say to credit for Automata, there's this one person I was talking to who's like talking about Nier Automata. I was about to say Nier 2B, but whatever.
It really is just Nier 2B.
Well, ironically,
it's not probably. Ironically, you could play.
Well, the honest answer is like, yeah, there was this one character that like I absolutely was hated, and I'm glad the plot did too, because like he had a lot of like
I assume that's
9S, yeah.
Yeah, 9S.
And so it's like, I thought about it, it's like, yeah, I mean, you basically, like, he's like, yeah, I worked with people who had this, like, talked like this, and they were, like, completely, like, racist as fuck, and it's like, you know what? Props to Kotaro for actually characterizing a shithead.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and not only...
like, that's about, like, there's a lot of flawed stuff, and like
like I said, I'm not even responding to flaws. I am responding to like Yoko Taro writes and speaks in one mood and tone that bounces off me like oil and water.
You know what? I'd also understand that too.
It's one of those things like I think that, and one of these things that becomes paradoxically more of a problem the more that something, the more that people evangelize about something. When something can strike you deep, when a piece of art means the world to you, part of the reason it can probably do that is that it is written in such a way that it will repel someone else because it is specific and direct.
Absolutely.
And so
I understand that, yeah.
And so when you run into like one of the things that like as just a personal philosophical thought process is like if something means a lot to me, I try to be more guarded about recommending it because I have to think about why did this speak to me personally, and like one of the things that like I feel like I got a lot with Nier Automata was that the recommendations were very blanket, but I feel like the appeal of the game is very specific in a way that is a nut that I cannot crack.
That's no,
makes sense.
Yeah. I kind of have a similar oil on water take with a few with like more nihilistic pieces.
That's fair.
Like I'll just throw my cards to the table. Like I haven't watched anything but know the plot synopsis of Evangelion, and I know for a fact I would hate it.
Evangelion was
I watched it and I hated it. I am the guy who hates Evangelion.
And
so
I watched Devilman Crybaby and I fucking hated it.
Interesting.
Or at least didn't really like it at all.
No, I can understand it. Like I said, if it, like I think that there is like a core like art that cuts deep almost inherently can't cut broad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could. God, no, not gonna evoke the name. There's a certain video game franchise that resonates with a certain group, and what?
Killer 7?
No, something more. No,
I mean, because Killer 7's about as like divisive as art can get.
Obviously, the answer is going to be
weirdly
Toho.
enough. I don't think Killer 7's not that divisive.
It's very much
it's
like
niche.
structurally. It's very much structurally a game that is not designed to be enjoyed.
I mean, Killer 7 I would describe as like, because it's so impenetrable, the kind of person who can reach its core is self-selected to be the kind of person who will adore it.
Yeah,
and
no, that's absolutely fair, because I 100% love Killer 7.
Oh, yeah.
But like but it's difficult to recommend to other people because you're like, oh, what's the game about? Well, a significant chunk of it
half hour.
is about let's just get the worst ones out of the way. It's about rape.
Bunch of that.
A lot of that.
Self-harm.
Oh yeah, self-harm. Oh, nuclear war, tons of fun. Nuclear war.
The general political landscape between Japan and the U.S. over the past several hundred years.
Warring.
Yeah.
So
the idea
it's like all of the bad things that Lilu sees in the Fifth Element.
Yeah, basically.
Kinda.
To reveal slightly more of the game I won't evoke. It's the genre I won't evoke, and it's the blank of.
That revealed nothing.
That revealed absolutely nothing.
I'm just going to assume it's Persona or something.
I'm just going to assume you're talking about the coffin of Andy and Lele or what the fuck ever.
God.
Yeah, fuck that game. Fuck anyone who likes it.
They're hard. Let's.
Oh,
the generic they're hard game.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Dark Souls of. I gotcha.
Oh, all right, I get it. All right.
Now it all makes sense.
You're allowed to not like Dark Souls. This is not like a Dark Souls shooter chat.
And I will state that I'm in the same boat. It's something that's never particularly struck my fancy.
I like Dark Souls in the abstract, but I've never really played it more than like 20 minutes.
I feel like they're more broad than people let on, but they're still like niche. They're like in a weird spot.
They're pretty broad. Like they're so famous and so popular.
Elden Ring sold 20 million copies.
Yeah, that's not niche.
That's true. Yeah, I think
the way they do a good job of or at least the marketing did a good job of creating the notion of them being for some sort of rarefied set of players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which produced a truly, viscerally shitty community.
Oh yeah, just the worst.
Yes.
I when I was consistently writing shit on Patreon, one of the things that I wrote was essentially about the horrible marketing masterstroke of Dark Souls 1.
Yep.
It's not for babies.
It was 100%. Oh, god.
I am incredibly glad I hopped on to that whole series in Demon Souls, not because of the I learned it before everybody else did kind of thing.
I learned it before I had to deal with all the shitty people that were here.
Yeah, that was before the Get Good memes. Get Good happened with Ornstein and Smo. It really did. Before that, there were some bullshit bosses in Demon Souls, fucking man-eaters, but people were not saying Get Good. They were saying, oh yeah, you can shoot arrows through the boss door so you don't have to fight the boss. More
Use
than
whatever tactic works.
They're telling you to cheese it, yeah.
They realize any trick is dirty, and
yeah. So,
here's my extremely controversial. Sorry, I'll go first because I'm short. The thing that's my extremely controversial take on Dark Souls is that it's great because they are games about skeletons fucking up the player. And I like that.
There is a lot of that.
That is valid.
There is the infamous and unforgettable Nito. You have so many skeletons.
They also wave at you when they fuck you up too. That should not
they
be
do. Some of them are attached to wheels and just spin at you really hard, which is basically like Sonic doing a spin dash.
They are skeletons that have mastered the art of spin dash, and that's just beautiful. That's genuinely beautiful. I cannot in any way hate something that knows what it's doing as much as that. You don't gotta like the games, but I appreciate a skeleton just stomping a dude's face in.
Yeah, but what I would say about Dark Souls as a concern is that it is ultimately playing the same trick that most games are playing, but doing it more effectively. Just to say that a game in almost any modern game you've ever played is trying to make sure you'll succeed eventually.
Yeah.
It just needs to make it players get really pissed off when they think that the game is trying to make them succeed.
Yellow paint.
Yeah, yellow paint, that's a manifestation of the same. But in
Yellow
general,
paint argument is so fucking stupid.
It's deeply dumb. And of course, people saying, well, they should have seen this coming. The logical response is video games take 5 years to make when they're that size. But in general, what I would say about something like Dark Souls is that it's just more like everything about that game is structured to like have the lightest possible punishment for death, and the few things that make you suffer long-term punishment for failure are the things people go out of their way the most to avoid. Because like you look at when you die in Dark Souls, what have you honestly lost? The only thing you've lost is stuff that you picked up since the last time you saved. There's basically nothing that the game can take away from you, to the point where they removed the both need and particular possibility of grinding for health items.
Okay, I have a mild counterpoint to that. This is not a major counterpoint, but I think it needs to be said. When I played Bloodborne and started dying a lot because...
That's why I said Dark Souls. Bloodborne's slightly different.
Oh, really? Okay, never mind.
Like in Dark Souls... So in Bloodborne, they made it so that... And eventually they patched Bloodborne so that you could have in the bank up to 600 blood vials.
Yeah, nice.
Only 20... You would just automatically restock to 20 when you survived, as long as you had more than 20 in the bank. But in proper Dark Souls, like in Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, and Elden Ring, when you die, you get sent back to a bonfire, and you have however many Estus flasks you had are filled back up.
Okay, my take, though, was that you weren't... There is something you're losing every time you fail in Dark Souls, and it's not, in-game items and stuff, it's time. I feel that, like, visceral, man, I just spent, like, 20 fucking minutes on this. Very, very strongly.
And that's why the in-game punishment is designed to be relatively limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is my main thing with Dark Souls.
It's such an old argument, too. Like, oh, sorry, Dark Souls.
Well, I was going to say that my main issue is any number of the, like, significant bosses that have patterns where it feels like you're rolling around for 20 minutes just to make sure you're properly dodging, and then you fuck up one time and you're dead. And I know I'm exaggerating here, but like that is my memory of the game, and then just being kind of like, all right, that was nice, I'm never doing it again. I'll talk to you later.
So, it's really interesting though that this is the reason, because like it's not like this is the dividing point with the Souls games. They the reason that like they hold people that like their turnoff is because they have enormous runbacks compared to a lot of other things. Like back when Demon Souls came out, like you think of the run back to the comparison I made was like I was dying way more in say well, I made the example of a game that was considered easy, fucking Mirror's Edge, right? Like compared not even Super Meat Boy, just like Mirror's Edge. I died way more in that than ever I did in Demon Souls, like in probably a single level. But the fact that the run back is so long in like Demon Souls or Dark Souls or whatever just makes a huge difference. But I found that like at least in earlier games, like they generally, emphatically generally, because there's exceptions and fuck them, didn't make the execution barrier that bad. It was more about like an endurance run, and that's not going to be for everybody. That's just and then over time they amped up the action part and that like reflex bit, and it's like, but they made the checkpoints shorter, and it's kind of a weird take and give, and it's like give and take. Sorry. And
there is a tug of war going on between how executionally demanding an individual section is versus how much it expects you to do between checkpoints.
How much you should be punished.
Yeah,
and I think the biggest fall off had to be like, honestly, Dark Souls 3, where like people were like meaning on the fact there was like a checkpoint next to it, like in sight of another checkpoint, but which I think was like overstated, but whatever.
I mean, like those guys tend to be just assholes.
It was the peak moment in the series where it's like you don't fight the enemies, you just run to the boss to get to the next checkpoint game. Whereas like a lot of the other games were a little bit more restrictive on that, but less reflex heavy. And then in Elden Ring, they kind of got better about checkpointing, and it's like,
does Timer pay that well?
Yeah, I
it's
still haven't played Elden Ring more than like 10 hours because I got like a significant portion into it, and then by that point I was like, I've played some variant of this every year or so for the past 10 years, and I'm kind of just done. I don't need more of it.
Yeah.
And like someday I'll want more of it, and the Elden Ring will still be there. But like right now, I just like I played a significant portion of it, and it's like this just like I know that for a lot of people, the open world really changed how they approach the game. But for me, it was just like this is just more of the same.
I wanted more of the same, so I actually agree with you. I just wanted more. I
had people that responded with like, "Oh no, you didn't approach it right," and I was like, "No, I think this is just kind of more of the same."
It really is.
It's nice to know that there's at least people who like it who are like, "This is more of the same."
The hottest, spiciest take I would say that is reasonable is it's like all the haters of Dark Souls 2 got the Dark Souls 2 experience that they were hating on, but in a way that was like more palatable. In that like there was like, oh, I hate adaptability, but I like the idea of like a open or ended version of whatever that formula is. It's like, and then Elden Ring is like, oh, we got rid of the stats that you didn't like, but we made a game that was basically Dark Souls 2. It's like, yay. That's a really that's a gross generalization, but it's
here's more Derek Souls.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
That was the name of my first Dark Souls character. His name was Derek Souls.
Wonderful. Souls. Did you keep that name through the entire series?
Yeah, that was usually like if I didn't have a name to come up with. It's like, oh, Derek Souls.
Derek's back.
I greatly approve. So, yeah, no, I get that. I think Elden Ring it is more Dark Souls. It is more Dark Souls in a way that's in a format that sold 20 million copies, so good for them.
Look, the people were crying out for more Dark Souls.
Yeah, and well, clearly
that critical mass.
Like more like I know some people that like haven't played any of the Souls games but played Elden Ring, or like, you know,
statistically they must have.
Yeah, and it's like,
I mean, personally, I bounced off of the actual Dark Souls game. I liked Bloodborne well enough, and I liked Elden Ring better than all of them. And I understand that it is something of a, let's say, if you ask me to describe why I enjoyed Elden Ring more, it isn't going to be like a legitimate answer, so to speak. Like, it could be the same reason I'm describing Dark Souls. It's just Elden Ring did happen to hit me correctly.
For me,
like, that's a valid answer.
Wait, I really want to know what the reason was for Elden Ring, though, Goggle.
I mean,
apparently tourism.
And I wrote an article about this on GoggleBob.com, home of Gogglebob. Please visit GoggleBob.com.
Jesus.
But
he's gonna get that AdSense money, baby.
I got
no ads on that website.
Never stop plugging, man. Never stop plugging. But no, the main reason I enjoyed Elden Ring is because, unlike Dark Souls, and this, I'm not saying that this is a significant difference, but just Elden Ring, I got a vibe from the world of it that I was basically walking around in a legitimate place that I felt like I could explore and enjoy. And I got that from Bloodborne too, and I never got that significantly from Dark Souls. Like, I acknowledge that those are worlds and games, but they felt closer to playing like levels in a Castlevania game than playing like a world. And I understand it's a very,
I'm gonna call that the Breath of the Wild effect, because that is a big part of the reason of why I'm still playing Tears of the Kingdom right fucking now
Yeah, we
as
got
we're
the
talking.
notification. It was on the stream.
Oh, awesome. Also, I'm seeing a skeleton with a awesome pompadour. That's not me.
Like
I have a top hat and
greaser.
monocle. But I appreciate Greaser Skeleton. I appreciate it.
As you should.
Where does Fable
this is cursed. Sorry, God.
No, you started talking first.
Fable
you were saying where does Fable fit? It's a very different form of action RPG.
As far as the world feeling.
And that's the thing, is I didn't play Fable 1 because I think that was only on Xbox originally, is that right?
Xbox and on PC for the last chapters.
It was announced on Xbox as Project Ego.
There you go.
Yeah, when it was being co-developed by Lionhead and Big Black Box.
That's way too appropriate of a name.
Yeah, no, Peter. Which guy was it?
Peter Molyneux.
He is one of God's most special creatures.
What I was gonna say was that the reason Gogglebob loved it is, or at least liked it more.
I didn't say love.
Yeah, liked it more. It's probably part of. It's probably part of why it didn't sink its hooks in me, because like I enjoyed Dark Souls as a world, but it wasn't a world I wanted to see all of. It was a place that I was happy to just see a few decaying snippets of, and like when I suddenly had a game that was like, go to everything in that world, it's like I don't want to see most of this place. I don't care. Whereas like when I was playing Bloodborne, which again is a few snippets of a world, but in a slightly more coherent fashion. But when I was playing Bloodborne, or Sekiro, which had just come out a few years earlier, there was no attempt to make a fully conceived world to be explored, even if there was perhaps one in the narrative. But the actual it was a much more focused gameplay challenge, and I found that interesting. I like exploring Hyrule, to bring up Breath of the Wild again, because I think that Hyrule is a place that I like being in. It's a place of beauty, sorrow, and wonder and horror. Whereas because Elden Ring and Dark Souls as a whole, and just generally From Software's MO, is to produce worlds that are just this place really sucks ass, doesn't it? I didn't care to find all of it. I didn't want to see all of it.
And that's part of the reason I liked Elden Ring, because I agree 100% on Dark Souls, because that again was a game that I didn't really need to see all of that, and that was part of the reason I bounced off of it. But Elden Ring was just, as much as I like being able to say this, the right level of fucked up, that basically the appeal to it to me was that I could be a tourist in this place. I could fire up this world and play through it and enjoy it, but I could leave. I didn't have to live there, and that was the appeal to it to me. Which I understand it's ridiculous, but
I get it to some extent, but it's for me, since again that would have been the fifth or sixth of these kinds of games I'd played. It's when I was exploring the first dozen hours of Elden Ring, all I could think, if I were to put it in these terms, if I were to do comparatives, all I could think would be, there's nothing in here that I've seen that I would rather have seen than, say, something as haunting and weird or fucked up as Anor Londo. I just ultimately ended up just feeling I didn't, there wasn't enough all the spaces between the Dark Souls style set pieces were just here's the gross place and the gross valley. And I was just happier having these as places that connected directly, instead of having a big old pile of junk between them, and I get why people would want that, but I didn't.
Well, sorry to burst your bubble, fanboy, but
oh no,
Lands Between was Elden Ring.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Where did they?
No,
find
I think I get that though. Elden Ring felt like if like I hadn't played the Souls games, I would disagree. But like having played like the franchise up until then, it's like yeah.
I guess I just feel like I know what that team is going to make. Like I feel like I know what that team is going to make whenever they decide they're going to make a dark fantasy.
Here's a fucked up little guy.
Like the fucked up little guy is always going to be the same genre of fucked up little guy.
Oh, fucked up little guy! Everything sucks so bad.
And like that's not a bad thing. I get that people have their own tastes, and artists love to return to consistent. Like people have obsessions; they return to consistent motifs. I don't like, and there are people that like. Suda can make the same game, like a game about assassins and luchadors 100 times, and I'll be there for it. But with every artist, you're going to run into a point where there's like, this is as much of what you're selling as I need. And for FromSoft's like dark fantasy, medieval, like dark fantasy Europe. I feel like I've kind of hit the point of I've got as much of this as I need for the next like 5 to 10 years.
That's actually a really fascinating point, because what you said about Suda 51 is exactly how I feel about like what you were basically saying about FromSoft medieval fantasy Elden Ring.
Yeah, because like I'm not going to sit here and pretend that my favorite artists aren't often returning to the same motifs and concepts. Like,
oh sure, yeah.
Like, I think that good art comes from people who are working on things they're passionate about, and there's only so much any given artist is passionate about, and so those motifs will keep coming back. But it's one of those things like you kind of have to accept. This is what this is an artist I gel with enough that they can keep going back to these same sets of themes, and I'll still be there for it.
Oh, pardon me, sorry. Yeah, Suda's absolutely a case study for a guy who likes what he likes and wants to make video games about what he likes, and does so with a great with not consistency, but like with great enthusiasm. And every time he gets to go back to it, he's like, "Yeah, let's."
Is how I would describe it.
I don't know what that word means.
Specificity?
Oh, specificity. I thought you said like mesificity, and I was like, "That's a new one."
No, specificity.
Yes. Specificity. Yes, I understand that word.
Yeah, he has a specificity of theme.
Mm-hmm. He likes what he likes. And
Suda makes Suda games.
Yep, Suda makes Suda games, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, hot take, but Miyazaki makes Miyazaki games. Like
that's true.
Miyazaki makes Miyazaki games, and it's just me reaching my natural, reaching my natural endpoint of this. There's only so much of the medieval Miyazaki game that I need in any given period of time.
I've had enough Miyazaki right now, and do not need any more Miyazaki for at least a few weeks.
Yeah, and there's artists that we don't enjoy, and that's like Tar.
Sometimes that point of being satiated is reached before the end of an individual work.
Oh, I will say this though. I fucking hated Sekiro, but
oh man,
I did not enjoy Sekiro as well.
It was
like Sekiro was for me for someone who wanted something extremely executionally demanding.
That is exactly what it was, except I really hate parrying in those games.
Right there.
And,
yeah, if you don't like that, you're not going to have fun.
Yeah. Like you can, like I've seen people argue, like their lungs blue or whatever about like it's not just about parrying, but like it's about time.
There are going to be boss fights in that game. that cannot be reasonably completed without mastery of the parry.
Yeah.
That is... It is the most rigid of those games in how it expects you to play it.
Yeah, and that... I think if it was a dodge rigidity, I would have liked it. Because I like Bloodborne. And I liked the like spacing, dodging of that. Sekiro is about parrying.
I wonder if there's statistically significantly more likely to like Sekiro if you're good at Third Strike.
I'm bad at Third Strike.
I did not care for Third Strike parrying either.
I have never played Third Strike because I am his
basketball minigame. God damn you.
But what I was going to say was that, because, the other ones, people will refer to any given strategy as cheese, but it's really just that any given way that you approach the game is probably going to work. If you can, certain ones will be executionally demanding, aka ones where you get up in something's face and roll around it until you can stab it in the ass. That can be quite executionally demanding, but it'll work. If you find a way to shoot something from across the room such that it cannot hurt you, that's also going to work. Sekiro is a game where every combat technique is subservient to the notion of getting right up in something's face and stabbing it in either the face or the ass. And so your compatibility with the game will heavily depend upon how much you want to play by its rules.
Yeah. Well, it's not even just getting up in the face and it's getting up in the face and deflecting everything until you can stab it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, deflecting things is a means to getting in something's face.
I think that's the point I make, that bothered me. Well, the means to getting in the face and stabbing, sure, fine. The means being deflecting or deflecting / the occasional jumping or Mikiri counter. That part ruined it for me. And it's not like I...
How did you just out of curiosity as another data point, how did you like Metal Gear Rising?
I have played it for a few minutes and didn't... I played it till I got to Dog Friend, Robot Dog Buddy.
Blade Wolf.
Yeah. Well, Robot Dog Buddy, but...
I mean, his name is literally Blade Wolf.
Yes, but I've watched the whole game.
Yeah. It's a game that, that's another one where it's everything is designed to, there's a dodge, you have to buy the dodge, because they wanted to make sure that your understanding of the game system was that everything was subservient to get in something's face and only stop when you see an opportunity to stop them from attacking to get further into their face.
So, with Metal Gear Rising, I think the part where I bounced off it was... Actually, no, it wasn't Robot Dog Buddy. Or Blade Wolf. It was the stealth mechanics in the sewer level afterwards.
A mechanic I almost always forget about, simply because it's easier to jump in and start murdering. It's easier to jump in and attempt murder.
Yeah, they literally just said, I guess you can do a stealth kill.
It is Metal Gear.
Yeah, we have Metal Gear in the name. We have to throw this in. So, go nuts, I guess. But it's very much an afterthought.
I actually do I think it's just that I don't like parries and I like dodges. That's the big reason. Because that's
why I was asking for it as a data point. Was it's if you liked that, it couldn't be that. But it sounds like you want to zip around things, whereas I enjoy zipping around things, but I also enjoy just telling someone to fuck off when they try to hit me. And that's what a parry is.
Yeah, I like the parry in Rising is interesting. I like Bayonetta, but in Rising was it was weird. I should finish that game to tell you if I hate it or not.
Wait, the fanboy, is your theory that if the mechanic was just as demanding of precision, but it happened to be a dodge instead of a parry, that actually makes a difference?
Dodging feels more freeing because you can dodge in several directions.
Yeah.
There's only one way you're ever going to parry something.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with this.
And also, I will point out the fact that parrying implies that you have to wait for the enemy to attack. Dodge rolling, you can just dodge roll like a fucking motherfucker.
Yeah, like when the parry is is psychologically on some level. I saw what you're doing and you're not getting away with it.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
The dodge is more specifically like I'm taking control of the arena.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also just the simple point, and that this was also brought up with the idea of there being stealth gameplay. One thing, I've gotten better with this as I've gotten older and more mature. But one reason I didn't like stealth gameplay when I was a kid was because I felt like you spent half the game just waiting for some jackass AI to walk away from where you need them to be right now. And, like, parrying is much the same thing in that you are waiting for them to attack so you can do that counter, but it's a matter of you are waiting for them to attack.
Whereas, like, because of the way that I'm playing these, which is often wildly aggressive, usually what's happening is I am interrupting my assault long enough to tell them with my sword to fuck off, and then continuing.
I felt like with Sekiro especially, I didn't feel like I was reading the boss in a way it's like I told them to screw off. Or fuck off. Why am I censoring myself? I don't know. But
fuck everything. Fuck you the most. Fuck everyone.
Like it wasn't about
fuck
like
you the most.
It didn't reward the feeling of like reading the opponent. It felt like I was being requested to read the opponent. Maybe that's like
I felt extremely like I was telling someone to fuck off every time I nailed something like a Mikiri counter.
To me, it felt like, oh, you didn't read the Mikiri counter? Oh, well,
It's a player psychology thing.
Yeah, it
Different
felt more
players have different
punishing and it felt like more rewarding to read it. And it wasn't, and it felt like that the whole way through for me. Like, the bosses I had the most fun with were the ones that were unconventional in that's mechanics. I liked the second half of the monkey fight, where you had to like. I liked running. I liked that there was like this weird solution where it's like in order to never die from the terror mechanic, you just run away from the screen. I love that you could run without a stamina bar in that game. I actually like the stealth mechanics in that game a decent bit, like Sneaky Row.
Other fun segments.
Yeah, like Snake Hero is pretty good. I did not like all the parts that everybody cited as things they liked. I really loathed Owl. I loathed.
I was gonna say you're gonna say Great Shinobi Owl.
I never fought the father version, because I didn't want to, but because I got past the point of no return, and I cannot be asked to play that game again.
Can't blame me. If you didn't enjoy it once, I would not recommend playing it a second time.
I think also maybe if the final boss left a good taste in my mouth, I would probably be more accepting of it. But sorry, Sword Saint Ishin was everything I hated about that game.
Oh man, I had a great time fighting Sword Saint Ishin. So
right, it is 100% like a thing where it's like, yeah, I get why you like it. Everything you like about it is everything I hated about it. I did not like that style of combat at all.
That fucking weird thing where you get struck by lightning and you have to jump in the air.
The lightning counter was It was fine. It was just it was like the soft track, like you know that game you played as a kid where it's like you hold your hands under somebody else's and you're playing like the slap game?
Slaps.
Yeah, this is slaps.
It's the slaps, yeah. I guess a lot of fights in that game that I hated were like playing the slaps, but with in a way. Well, maybe I just don't like it in slaps. I don't know.
I don't like slaps in real life because I don't like getting my hands hurt.
Yeah.
Not letting him get away with it.
It felt like that. Also, this is a really trippy area.
There's a lot of those, ain't there?
Yeah, well, those are the bonus areas. They seem to reuse that background.
I kind of wonder, though, how many games recently aren't tile set based. Going back to the whole talk about, like, games in a world where like they weren't tile set. Like, how tile set heavy is like Ori, for instance?
I'd have to play Ori again to fully say. I think a lot of that one's if there's tiles, they're much more they're much less geometric.
Yeah, and I don't even like Ori that much. It was fine, but
I enjoyed Ori as an interesting experiment of mixing like masocore platforming and Metroidvania.
Yeah. And I brought up like Rayman, like the modern ones, definitely
Origins and Legends, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, are we talking about Masocore? Because let me tell you why I like Super Meat Boy.
We were actually talking about just to close the button on this so the beat is aware of where this came from. We were talking about Ori and the Blind Forest, which is a mix of Masocore and Metroidvania.
It's a really I've played a little bit of that game, and it is both of those things, but I really consider it most of all a vibes game. A game you just sort of look at and go, damn, that's pretty.
Yeah.
I'd say it's that way a lot at the beginning. The further you get in, the more it becomes
well, good thing I only got like 30 minutes into it, because all I wanted to do was stare at it and go, yeah, that's pretty. And then I was done staring at it and played something else. So for me, it was a pure vibes game.
Vibes game, personally.
I love Masocore games, but there is one extremely, extremely important aspect to all Masocore games, and that is the challenges have to be relatively short. I'm talking like often sub 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And the restart time has to be instant, like no wait at all. Because every moment you're stuck staring at like a loading screen is a moment you're just like, man, fuck this, right? That's why Hotline Miami lets you go right back into action. Boom, right back to action. There's no wait at all. Smash hard or restart.
Also, I guess Celeste would fall into that as well.
Celeste is another really good example.
100% Masocore, yeah.
A game that fucks it up. A game that fucks it up really badly is Wings of V, which had some really great platforming challenges and could have been an awesome Masocore game, but for some fucking reason, the restart time is like upwards 25 seconds, and that's unacceptable. It's such a weird thing to be like, to draw a line in the sand on, but it's absolutely crucial for the experience. Like you need that. 100% true. You need that absolute speed for it to work.
That's not a coincidence either. There was like when in one of the dev blogs that McMillan posted, it's like, yeah, we made sure to make the restart time for Super Meat Boy be like near, like as instantaneous as possible, because of how important it was for the difficulty of it.
That's where you lose players, is when it takes a long time to get back and it was difficult.
Yeah. Imagine a 3D action RPG game genre based around that. That'd be fucked up.
That'd be silly.
Yeah. What was it though? The regarding platformers, Super Meat Boy. Nope, brain farted. I'm just gonna say that Celeste is great and Pizza Tower is great because it's like. Have you heard it's
Wario Land, baby.
Oh no, it's because Trans Lemon can double jump and Trans Man can wall burst.
That is true. That is absolutely true.
I don't know it. I don't know it in person, but I believe it.
Also, bisexual people do 10% more damage.
Yep.
Oh, that's rough.
No, do 10%, not get 10%. Do 10%.
No, I know what you mean. I'm just saying that's rough. You better not get in any fights.
Oh yeah, you don't fuck around with them.
Yeah, I'll get wrecked if there's so many bisexual people around me.
Yeah, you will be 10% more wrecked and it will hurt.
We're just going to assume that carries over to pansexual people as well.
I mean, yeah, logically.
A lot of crossover there.
I was about to
But they
say,
are distinct.
how do the buffs carry, or is it like you get like a different kind of buff?
Yeah.
You're allowed to have multiple buffs.
A scarecrow?
That's a Fallout New Vegas joke, in case anybody cares.
I accidentally missed it for the past like 5 seconds because I was watching the stream.
I only know about the joke and Fallout New Vegas because of the Warlocracy video. I like that guy. I watched his Hammer and Sickle. I put on his Hammer and Sickle video while folding clothes after finishing Scott Pilgrim.
God, I can't read and listen to this chat at the same time. You're writing a lot of stuff about Scott Pilgrim.
I just wanted to like get it down so I could never think about it again. But the verdict is, it is a C+ show. I didn't love it, but there were parts of it that I was like, yeah, that was pretty good. But it was freeing to me because this is personal. At the moments in time when it was the hottest shit ever in certain corners of online was when I was the exact age where that shit should have hit me like a truck, and I hated it. And that bothered me for years. And then finally I watched this dumbass cartoon and I'm like, oh, it's just kind of mid. I'm free. And that's nice. I like being free.
Until a year from now.
No, I'm free. I don't give a shit. Like, if they do a fucking season 2, I don't want to watch it. I'm done.
No, I wasn't talking about whether there will be more of it. I'm saying until a year from now, at which point, like, someone will bring it up and you'll get pissed off again.
Yeah.
I mean, like...
There will be more discourse and you will suffer.
I will always get pissed off at shit. That's part of who I am deep down inside. I just, have to learn to live with that. But no, it was fun. I liked the Lucas Lee episode, even though, like, it sort of ended with him getting canceled because he was playing a character who did reprehensible things, but he's an actor? That didn't make any sense.
Still reprehensible. I think that was the thing. He wasn't exactly a good guy to begin with.
How far did the first season get into the whole...
It's a different story.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Well, fuck if I know then.
Yeah, you don't have to care. That's the beautiful thing. And like the part of the reason I sort of fell off it, and like part of the reason I didn't give it like a B- instead it's like a C, is because all of a sudden, like at the end, it's got super meta and like, in my opinion, a little bit too cute for its own good. And I was just like, come on, guys, you were doing great, and then you sort of like just stumbled at the finish line. But I'm sure a lot of people liked it, so whatever. I don't give a shit. I'm over it.
But how many... Yeah, I guess my wonder is like how many people liked it because they liked whatever media they had of Scott Pilgrim beforehand.
A lot of people who were pissed off at it were pissed off because it is consciously and intentionally disloyal to the original source material.
Which is good, because I hate the original source material.
Well,
I recommend
I don't know, like,
as somebody who liked Scott Pilgrim
seeing.
at both stages, let's say, in my life, I will say that I enjoyed it.
As someone who hated Scott Pilgrim at all stages, I also recommend it. Just, get it out of your
curious
system.
about it. I am. Where is it
It's
being
a good
aired?
show.
On, like,
It's being aired on a pirate website near you.
I literally have Netflix. I literally could just put it on the TV. I fucking downloaded it from watchcartoonsonline.stream.
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, Yeah, okay, well, I'll keep that in mind. The weirdest... Okay, here, I gotta get this off my chest. The weirdest thing about Scott Pilgrim was watching the DVD commentary on the movie and listening to the director who did the
Edgar Wright
Dead series and all, Edgar Wright.
Yeah,
he was like, yeah.
Oh yeah, Nick Frost and Simon Pegg had a cameo in this cartoon.
Oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, you know,
he's an executive producer
like,
on this cartoon.
Oh yeah, you see that and you're like, oh hey, they got a little shout out. That's cute.
The weirdest fucking thing that threw me off on that whole thing was Edgar Wright going like, yeah, these characters in the story just play music what seems like for not getting famous or anything. They just play it for the sake of playing music. It's like that how do you perceive that as strange? Like,
they're actors.
I think there's something to be said for the notion
that's
of
like what Edgar Wright said. It was just like,
yeah,
what I'm saying is
baffled at it.
He's a major Hollywood director.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say.
Yeah, it was just interesting, like, because like in the movie, like that very much doesn't come across. That's because like he was saying, like, yeah, in the comic, like they just seem to be playing music for the sake of playing music. So we made a movie just like they were trying to get famous and stuff. It's like, wow.
So the thing I would say is twofold. The first is a lot of people who start a band with their friends have starry-eyed visions of being famous.
Yeah.
And that's where the band eventually breaks up because someone or several people realize that that's never going to happen and that they don't care enough about this to keep doing it for its own sake.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I would say is that Movie Scott is a little different from Comic Scott, which is why which is in part why his realization comes from the power of self-respect rather than love or understanding.
Yeah.
That was such a weird, like, it's one of the many reasons I think the movie sucks.
Yeah. I mean, so it wasn't just like Scott had that like attitude. It was like who was the leader of the band, the singer, the lead guitarist of the band? Like he was the guy that was like
Stephen Stills.
Yeah. Like I think that was the most drastic character shift that threw me off on that. But I haven't seen the show on Netflix, so I don't know. I do find it funny how the show got started. That was adorable. The whole like the actor for Scott replied to a chain email like years later, and
he just replied to everybody.
Yeah, that's adorable to me.
Michael Cera.
Yeah,
he replied all to an 11-year-old email chain.
And it was like something like, amazing. Yeah, I agree. It was like not even
to like a meme or something. Yeah,
that is cute. Sure.
Lol.
Yeah, that's. I don't have much more stake in any of the media beyond that. Yes.
Yeah, I like takes off. I like sequels that are sequels, remakes, and reimaginings that are. I've used this phrase a lot, but confrontationally disloyal to the source material. So, in general, I appreciate that every adaptation of Scott Pilgrim has had adjacent thematics and aesthetics, but very different interpretations of the concept. I always liked that the game, if you were playing as Scott, ends with him learning nothing because one of the bosses is Nega Scott, and so that means that because he just ran off and beat up his perception of his failures, he didn't learn a goddamn thing.
I mean, it's a video game. Of course, you didn't learn a thing. You don't learn things from
but that's the only way. Like, if Ramona beats up Nega Scott, just to some extent, her understanding that he's kind of a broken dipshit, and she's willing to deal with that, that's when you get the comic ending. If Scott beats up Nega Scott, where he externalizes his own negative traits and says, no, these aren't me, you end up with the game's ending where he's just a huge piece of shit.
But he gets a sword.
He does get a sword.
Tell us how you really feel.
So you're saying the Scott Pilgrim video game does not hew to the Persona 4 theory of shadow selves.
That sounds to me like the Scott Pilgrim video game, which I just played and wasn't a fan of. Adheres to the Hyrule Warriors theory of self, where your dark side can in fact just be sort of ripped out of you. And you can then beat them to death and just not have a dark side anymore.
And also that in both cases, it's because a girlfriend is involved.
The comic.
No, in that case, it was it was like the Sage of Time it was down super bad for Link. So she split herself into two versions of herself. And one of them was like a tiny, innocent, fragile waif that wanted to hold Link's hand. And the other one was a sexy seductress that wanted to fuck him.
Yeah, I've read Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde too.
But somehow
what I was going to say was that the comic uses Negascott as a really obvious metaphor for getting out of a relationship, it having ended badly, and you absolutely failing to process what your culpability in that was. Because Kim straight up points out that every time a relationship ends for Scott, he runs off and beats up Negascott, and then, just sort of comes back the same. So, it's the concept of what Negascott represents in the comic is overt.
Yeah, it's hard to miss that level of symbolism. Having gone through many trash fire relationships, I get it. It is hard to look at yourself and go, damn, I really fucked that up. But you can't not do it.
No.
And that's what happens when you refuse to.
The comic thing with Kim, I will also note, is something that I really get disappointed that it doesn't seem to really exist much in any of the adaptions. Because Kim is somebody who's actually more or less stuck with Scott, like, as a friend, despite the fact that he apparently in the past really, really hurt her. And he has no concept of it. And it really recontextualizes the character, because in general, it's just during the Scott Pilgrim comic, it seems like, oh, she's just kind of a cranky, sarcastic character, haha. And then it's revealed that, yeah, she's got a reason to have beef with Scott, and it is kind of miraculous that she doesn't.
She's just accepted that she's not going to get better out of him.
Right, and that's the thing, is that she's just kind of okay with the fact that he's kind of shitty, which is something that you don't see a lot in media, where it's just kind of acknowledged, hey, this guy's kind of a dick, but, I'm going to hang out with him anyway.
I would...
There's too much history to ignore.
Counterpoints. That is the basis of 90% of American sitcoms. These guys suck, but, we gotta be here next week.
On a Friday night.
Yeah.
I mean, but in those cases, it's very rarely acknowledged that anybody actually sucks beyond the fact that, you are the cast of Seinfeld, so you can't go anywhere.
To describe what Bob's getting at, perhaps more, it's rarely acknowledged that the cast has hurt each other.
Yes.
We see them routinely do awful things to each other, but it's rarely acknowledged of that left a mark, that one of them has processed to some extent by giving up on this person getting better, but has not decided to cut off the relationship, and one of them has processed by essentially forgetting about it.
Yeah, and I will point out that I don't disagree with the fact that, sitcom characters are assholes to each other all the time, but I do feel like we live in a world where things are written in that, if a character does something unforgivable to another character, they either wholly forgive them, or then they just stop dealing with each other. That's the reason X
relationships heal.
Yeah.
Relationships heal or they break, but we don't get one that's damaged.
Right. We don't get and again, the thing is that I do feel like it recontextualizes the fact that she's consistently she's kind of like, oh, Scott Pilgrim's a dick, and you get the idea that she's just saying that because oh, she's the friend who's making a sarcastic comment, like it is a sitcom. But in this case, you do find out the fact that, no, she's saying that from a place of...
She believes that because she knows what it means.
Yeah, this is something that is justified in some level. One problem I have with this game is you're constantly running out of... You constantly have...
It's inherited this problem from its predecessor.
You've got 500 gems at all times, so remember to go spend them. Well, the original Zelda game, every time you used the double jump, it cost you a rupee, which was ridiculous.
Excuse you, a ruby.
Whatever.
Ruby.
They didn't know, and I don't care.
It's yours, my friend, if you've got enough rubies.
That's a really good question to be asked by Ask Wheels. Is this thing good?
This game?
Yeah, it looks
kinda.
This game, I would say, is the platonic ideal of what the Seedy Eye games were going for. It's got problems. For instance, if you haven't noticed, I had to backtrack to the first level 70 times at this point.
Yeah, no, I watched that a million times. What I was going to say was I assumed you were about to say the platonic ideal of a 7 out of 10.
Well, no, I wouldn't go that far. For
the platonic ideal of a 6 out of 10.
For what it is, this is the best version of the Zelda Wand of Gamillion.
The best version of itself.
Yeah,
whatever
the best
that means.
version of itself. It has a lot of weird things that I would think people would, let's say, comment on. For instance, if you haven't noticed, any of the bosses I fought have been, nothing.
I did notice that.
Get in here.
I did notice that, yeah. Just get in here, Wheels. You have my Discord. Does he have my Discord?
He's been in here before.
Wheels, get the fuck in here.
We should ask Wheels to get in here.
We already did.
Yeah.
We did not ask, we told.
Remember all those times I wrote your column for you, Wheels?
But I don't want to get in here.
You fucking owe me, bitch.
Goggle Bob,
are
people tired of your Ask Wheels puns?
Never get tired of that.
I love puns. Never get tired of puns.
Wheels, try it, Wheels. Please never, ever influence each other in any way.
We've talked before.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we've been in the same chat room before.
Of course.
The crossover has already occurred.
I know.
I'm going to... But don't worry, I will verbally castigate Wheels on Thursday anyway.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for your heroism.
Sweet. What did I do? This time?
There will be plenty of reasons.
Okay. You were born into this world.
Wow.
Okay, that's fair.
There will be grievances. There will be castigations. There will be recriminations. It will be. There will be.
Will there be strong denunciations?
Of course.
Excellent. That's all I needed.
You're saying this was like the plutonic ideal of the CDI.
Platonic, not Fuck you.
Whatever, man.
Supersonic
language.
You don't get to yell at someone for misspeaking, Beat. I'm sorry.
Oh, but I did. I did.
What?
I will.
No. You gotta yell for mispronunciation.
But anyway, that I feel like that's saying oh, this turd is not diarrhea.
Well, that's the thing.
It's a perfect cylinder.
I will say this: the CDI games, there is a glimmer of an idea. It is 100% constrained by the hardware. They were
by
clearly...
hardware, by development and experience, by a million problems.
Yeah, and
by using a remote as a controller.
And yeah, God, and also a big part of it too, I think, is the fact that we have different expectations for Zelda games than what was available at the time. Because I can say, because, I mean, I am one of the weird kids. I did not have a Seedy Eye, but this is, when we were talking about the existence of the Seedy Eye earlier, I wanted to point this out. I did not have a Seedy Eye. However, I had a friend who, his parents were, like, obsessed with making their kid, like, you know, kid baby Einstein, whatever you want to say.
Oh, this. Did they have a Seedy Eye? Oh no.
They did not let him get a Nintendo, but they did let him get a Seedy Eye. So I did see Zelda and Link live when it was relevant.
Live and in public.
And at the time,
and yet you didn't see Zelda's Adventure. Disgusting.
This is true. But this is at the time when stuff that happened in the Link and Zelda Seedy Eye game.
I think this is one of the backgrounds in Braid.
That is probably accurate. It looks very familiar. But
But never run out of magical rewind time potion.
At the time, keep in mind the only references we had for Zelda was Zelda 1, 2, and 3. So a lot of the things that Link and Zelda did in the Seedy Eye games, we just stuck back and said, "Oh, they're doing Link 2 again." It's like they're alternating.
And so I'm gonna sit down and say a thing though.
They're making bad Zelda again.
Yeah, they're making bad Zelda, just like Adventure Link.
So I'm gonna say one thing that is entirely unfair, and yet here it is. I don't trust anyone who calls Link to the Past Zelda 3.
Well,
that's fair. I don't trust those motherfuckers either.
Of when Seedy Eye came out, which is when we were calling it Zelda 3.
Did you call Link's Awakening Zelda 4?
No, that was Game Boy Link.
It didn't even get a.
I might agree to calling Link to the Past Zelda 3. I also don't trust myself or anyone. So.
Fair.
But no, at the time we were totally calling it Zelda 3 with no problem with that.
I didn't grow up with NES Zelda or Zelda 2, so
Link to the Past was my first Zelda. If you ask me to just think of a video game with no other descriptors, my brain is mostly going to think of Link to the Past. It was the thing that made me fall in love with video game.
Yeah, and Link's Awakening were the ones I played the most. Even my grandmother played Link's Awakening.
Wow.
My starting point outside of I'm sorry.
What?
You are not free.
Cass?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. Well, I have no
idea. Sin's a lie. Yes, it's a sin's a lie.
Well, I said Space Invaders. It was just a delayed thought.
Oh, your first game. Got it. Link's Awakening, not Link's Awakening. Link to the Past was not my first game. It was the first game I fell in love with.
I don't rightly know my first game, but because I don't remember, like, I'm sure I played some at, like, friends' houses and stuff when I was 5 or whatever, but, like, I do remember of a Christmas where I got an NES and Turtles 2, and also Mario 1 is the pack-in game. And I guess Duck Hunt, technically? Whatever, who cares?
Yeah, you basically couldn't get one without the other at that stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to
so that's my first as far as I'm concerned.
I was a Sega Genesis kid, and Sonic 1 was...
Oh, I was absolutely a Sega Genesis kid, but I got the NES first because it was 1990.
I was a Sega Genesis Sonic 1 fucker. Though
Sonic baby.
Sonic baby. I grew up with fast.
I grew up with like what was it, Rita Rabbit and
oh fuck! In that case, too. If that's where we're starting, then fucking Treasure Mountain. Google it. It's amazing.
Oh man, Super Solver's Treasure Mountain.
Super Solver's Treasure Mountain. That's the one.
Played a lot of Super Solver's Treasure Mountain.
On like 5 actually floppy disks. My dad's like old PC. You had to change them out every time you went up a level.
Yeah, because there's 5 levels to that.
Wasn't there a helicopter game? Like not just like a helicopter, but like a game based off helicopter, but also had like economy rules to it too.
I'm sure there was, but I'm drawing
Probably, but I don't know what that would be.
Also, it's 12:30, and I did a lot today. I volunteered at the food bank for 4 hours, which was very good and rewarding.
How is it 12:30 for you?
Planet are you on? That it's
No,
12:30?
wait, no, it's 11:30.
It's
But I'm still
You're
fucking
still allowed
tired.
to be tired.
But I'm still
Are you in
fucking
the
tired, so I'm
Caribbean
going to
somewhere?
bed.
You should get to go to the Caribbean.
That would be nice, but no. It's 11:30. But I'm fucking tired, so I'm going to bed. Have a good night, all. Peace.
Go to bed.
Night.
Have a good one.
Too late.
My Super Solvers experience, I did play Treasure Mountain, but my Super Solvers of preference was Gizmos and Gadgets.
Treasure Mountain. I might have been exposed to this, but I do not remember it. I'm going to take the advice. I'm going to Google.
As a child growing up in Oregon, it was also legally required that I play like dozens of versions of Oregon Trail over the course of my
I was
childhood.
about to ask.
You have
Like
died of
every-
dysentery.
I'm not convinced that there was a computer sold in Oregon from like 1985 to like 2005 that did not come with some form of Oregon Trail on it.
Okay, the real question is, how many of those computers died of dysentery?
More than you'd hope, but less than you'd fear.
Sad. Or more than... wouldn't it be the other way around if I hated computers?
You'd be surprised.
I would hope that you wouldn't be if you hate computers and want them to die, I would hope that your hope is not that they die in something that somehow causes them to produce feces in the process.
I mean,
But that would be.
I feel like half the time
This
I
is
already
how
do.
weird. It would get the people going.
Would it?
Well,
Remember
When I am
talking
there
about our
again,
first video
when I am
games?
there again, I am going to beat the hell out of you.
technically, the No, not gonna continue that chain of thought.
I love how I keep
dysentery
saying I
computers.
keep saying such cruel things to a man who has routinely and repeatedly both put me up in his house and treated me to many fine dining experiences.
Yeah,
like,
Costco, you
genuinely.
like fine dining, right? Like,
Callie Scrub knows the nice places, but what I was going to say was like it is a world where like Callie Scrub can take things in such good humor that genuinely, like without exaggeration, probably the nicest human being I have ever known in my life. I am saying I will beat the hell out of you.
Callie Scrub has a wonderful laugh of
It's true.
getting
There's a joviality inherent to Callie Scrub that is infectious, but also makes it even funnier to say I'm going to beat the hell out of you because, and I'm sure that at this point he will grow to resent this comparison. It's like saying you're going to beat the hell out of a Muppet.
Once again, he is compared to a Muppet.
Hey,
Like,
look,
which
Muppet are we
Like, if-
talking about here?
Like, I want you
That's
to
also
imagine that someone was saying that they were going to beat the ever-loving shit out of Kermit the Frog.
Well, honestly, I would take the side of Kermit at that point.
Yeah, because
Well,
Kermit,
yeah, of
like,
course
and
you
you should
would.
be taking the side of Callie Scrub because they are both like the nicest people you've ever met.
Yeah.
So there, a person that in my row in the office, basically got moved to a different floor, and I remember like, she said something about like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss your laugh." So one of my other coworkers,
The Callie Scrub soundboard incoming.
one of my other coworkers had an idea, and I don't know if he's gonna go through with it.
Oh no.
But he had an idea of like having like a recording of my laugh and then hiding it somewhere on her floor.
So it is the Callie Scrub
that's-
soundboard.
Like a leprechaun.
That sounds like a horror story almost.
The Telltale Scrub.
Like, even if you like had like a positive vibe with like that laugh, it'd be like, oh wow, this is a great time. Why the fuck am I hearing it again?
Am I being haunted by ghosts? Did Callie Scrub die?
That's wonderful. That's horrifying, but wonderful.
It's wonderful. It's horrifying.
It's here
The
under
movie
the
rights to the
floorboard.
story.
It's the combination of wonderful and horrifying.
This under the floorboards. There is a a fight stick with a soundboard of you and potentially a beating heart.
No, not true. Not true. They would cordially invite you to this wonderful soundboard they found in their cellar.
The cask of Monty soundboard.
Amontillado.
The cask of Calascrub.
That's the sequel to the Castle of Cagliostro.
Wait, this is Grand Blue all along?
It's where he wears the green jacket.
The fuck? I'm going to fight you. I referenced fucking Lupin the Third, and you come up with Grand Blue? Get out.
There's a character in Grand Blue named Cagliostro.
Yeah, guess what? I referenced Lupin the Third, and you bring up fucking Grand Blue. Get out.
I haven't watched Lupin the Third enough. I need to watch it.
There's a lot of Lupin, perhaps too much.
Yeah, it's been going on since what, the 70s? 60s?
It's
late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
But it's Lupin and Grand Blue, because that would be cool.
That would actually be cool. I don't think
I'm just going to send Wheels footage of Lupin the Third Saturn game. It is not in 2D.
Oh, never mind.
Can you send it to Trinot though?
No, I'm going to put it in general, and you're going to have to look at it.
I might. Everything I've seen about Lupin the Third, and including the fact that I watched a little bit of it when it was aired on US TV,
yeah, on Adult Swim, yeah.
Yeah, looked good. It's just I never got a chance to really get invested in it.
It's meant to be just sort of watch. It's something that you can just sort of watch an episode of and oh, that was fun, and sometimes you watch more.
That's kind of where the vibe we got.
Yes, the most tragic humans on God's green earth are the people who got invested in the overarching plot of Detective Conan, who did not seemingly immediately twig to the fact that, Gosho Aoyama wrote a frame narrative so that he could write tons of little mystery shorts.
Oh no.
The Detective Conan overarching plot does not exist to be resolved. It exists as a frame narrative around that sells it to whatever magazine it's serialized in, and then I'm gonna write a bunch of short mysteries forever.
I was about to say by a bunch we mean 900.
Yeah, I forget what the exact number of TV show episodes are, but it's probably well past that. And manga chapters, God only knows. But you can. I love the peculiar. I keep reading this boss's name. It's Beavis.
You may as well.
But I love the peculiar kind of person who loves mysteries in Japan, because there are Japanese mystery writers. There's not a lot of homegrown mystery writers in Japan, and so the Japanese mystery writers are all fans of Edogawa Ranpo, and then there will be one or two other quote unquote local mysteries, and then there will be a hodgepodge of influential Western mystery writers, some of which have completely been forgotten by everyone but the most hardcore mystery nerds in English. And that's why Detective Conan will have characters named after Ellery Queen.
That's amazing.
Which is also why I'm a huge fan of the interview with the writer of most of the Ace Attorney games, Shu Takumi, where he starts talking about his favorite Columbo episodes.
The ones voiced by Gianni Matrigano? Sorry, bad joke.
So moving on.
Sonic shoes in this game?
I got Sonic shoes.
Speeds by Sonic the Hedgehog.
Gotta go fast.
Who was So you mentioned writer, a mystery writer that was Japanese before, like
Edogawa Ranpo?
Yeah, who is that?
So Edogawa Ranpo was was unsurprisingly an early Japanese mystery nerd turned writer. Mm-hmm. His name that's not his real name. That is Edogawa Ranpo is a pen name that was devised by taking the name Edgar Allan Poe and like sort of muxing it up while transliterating it into Japanese. Because at the time, Poe was not just known for his macabre horror, but also his mystery works.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah, that's cool.
He invented
that's
the
cool,
mystery
though.
genre.
Really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Big early, but yeah, in Japan, Edogawa Ranpo is is like one of the Japanese mystery writers. A lot of his biggest character is Kogoro Akechi, which is why the evil detective in Persona 5 is named Goro Akechi, and why Detective Conan's girlfriend Ran, her father's name is Kogoro. But yeah, Kogoro Akechi was like his like long-running detective character. Not his only one, but these fused elements of like mystery pulp novels and that sort of thing. A lot of what you'd expect. But he wrote a ton of other stuff that like their standalone mystery novels or certain short stories, the way mystery writers tend to work, as well as sometimes just adapting the works of Western writers that you've never heard of.
Hooray!
I'm honestly curious. Well, no, I am curious the Western writers I've never heard of. But it would have to be written so I could actually take notes, because I honestly would follow up on that.
You're the beloved writers with names like Eden Philpotts. But
that sounds way more familiar than I'm comfortable with.
But it's fascinating because it's one of those things where it's like someone being passionate about a genre that simply does not exist.
That's my favorite genres.
That doesn't exist in your home language. Like, you're just aware that like in other languages people write this kind of thing, and I like this. So yeah, unsurprisingly big Conan Doyle aficionado as well.
Oh, that's shocking.
But yeah, that's why Detective Conan's full name is Conan Edogawa.
That's so cool though. Like that gets carried over and just reimagined, I guess. Like, yeah. Goddamn, let's non sequitur to Arzette for a second. What is going on in the tunnel level here?
I just wanted to go find a snail so I could give him a funky fungus. Now I got
so his entire game is fetch quests?
I mean, what I'm currently pursuing is actually kind of a Zelda staple of doing a sort of trade quest that eventually gets you a better sword.
And to be fair, but aren't most games story quests, fetch quests?
I mean, one way or another, yes.
Have you played Yoku's Island Express?
I have not. How is it?
It's a little pinball-y.
It's very pinball-y.
Are we talking
and very fetch questy.
How adjacent to Sonic Pinball are we talking?
Sorry, I feel like we had this conversation a few weeks ago.
Yeah, we did actually play Sonic Pinball on the stream against.
That's when I was last year. Yes.
Oh, okay. I can't remember.
Sorry, you mean Sonic Spinball?
My bad.
There was very little spin. And very little win, to be honest. In Sonic Spinball.
I was obsessed with that game as a kid, and I don't know why.
Not gonna lie, Arzette looks decent-ish? Playable?
I mean, it is, as I was saying, it was the platonic ideal of what this game could have ever been. Like, it's 100% based on the Zelda Seedy Eye game, and, like, if that game was just a little bit more tweaked, it would be kind of this game. And, okay, I say a little, but, like, a lot.
That's a pretty good compliment, to be honest.
But one way or another, I mean, there were, as I was saying earlier with the playing Seedy Eye games as a kid, like, they weren't completely repellent. There were good bones there. It's just a matter of, like, everything was stacked against them as far as being a playable game. And
right.
Somebody taking the care to go through this and make it into something, because there's a lot, like, this is not a game where there's got to be, like, dodge rolls and stuff, because this is 100%, like, very simple platforming, and, you know, pretty much every monster takes, at most, like, 3 hits, and mostly it's just, like, 1, and you get this sword beam that you see I've been using that is way overpowered, but the game is not concerned about, like, balancing, and ultimately that was a problem in the original Zelda Seedy Eye game too. When you had full health and could use the sword beam, you basically murdered everything in the area.
I mean, that was.
I like how you described this as a problem.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, there are people who would say like, "Oh, it's too overpowered." Like, I've been on those.
My response would be that my response would be that the combat is not what's fun here.
Yes, I don't disagree.
Give me a delete the enemy button.
My biggest problem with the game is that, like, particularly some of the earlier levels, the backtracking gets kind of nuts. The later levels, you definitely backtrack, but you only have to go back, like, once or twice. The first level, I swear, there's, like, literally 6 different occasions that you have to go back to it. Because there's, like, 6 different barriers you can't deal with initially, and you just have to know to come back with the item that takes out red blocks. But other than, like, that as a caveat, like, I honestly, this is a fun game, and you haven't been hearing the voice acting because we've been talking about, you know, complete nonsense. But the voice acting, the animation, like, it looks like YouTube poop because we know what YouTube poop looks like, but it is, you know, they put a lot of effort into this, even though it could have been, like, absolute crap.
That's wonderful, though.
Yeah, no, part of the reason I'm playing this is, yeah, this is just playing a good game.
I speaking of talking about complete nonsense, but this is almost a relevant tangent.
The best we could hope for.
Almost.
I'm, like, blown away at how much people care about balance in single-player games these days. Like, I was watching, like, some people criticize, like, Bloodstained, but also, like, Castlevania for, like, being imbalanced towards the end. It was like, it's the end of the game. You're supposed to be completely overpowered, blow everything up. And, like, a lot of them, like, cite, like, let's say Hollow Knight, for instance, where it's just like, yeah, there's, like, some endgame challenges that you can't overcome without, like, just, like, skill and balance or whatever, but, like, it feels so weird to me that, like, so many people are concerned about balance and single
quote-unquote games. Balance as though it's, like, a competitive concept.
Well, right. I hate to say it, but I feel like this goes back to the frickin' Dark Souls conversation we were having earlier.
Where which is very sad.
Yeah,
we had sealed it.
But the damned, like, basically the advertising that surrounded Dark Souls, as far as making it like only the manliest of men can beat.
Only the worthy shall survive.
Yes, only the worthy. Like the
edition.
idea that somehow like earning all the trophies in Kingdom Hearts makes you a worthy human being. Like,
Yeah.
this is.
Oh no, the kind of person who's playing that called you a slur for playing Kingdom Hearts.
Also true, yeah.
But I mean that's why I draw the comparison, because like Kingdom Hearts is a game, like when we were talking about dodge rolling earlier, like I always think back to when I first beat Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 1. And like that is
a game all about dodge rolling and iframes.
I was about to say that challenge is 90% like never stop rolling. Okay, you have 3 seconds where you can hit him. Now cast the Eroga
know where
spell
they are
and go back to rolling.
Some of my favorite fights I've ever finished, and honestly, probably harder than any of the things I did in a Souls game, were things like the lingering sentiment and 2 final maps.
Oh yeah, no, I mean and that's the reason I bring up Kingdom Hearts as like a trophy game, because inevitably the final nonsense boss of any given Kingdom Hearts game is, suffice to say, a challenge unto itself.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
But you don't necessarily see like the same level of like only a man can beat lingering sentiment.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like
a lot of the marketing around Dark Souls was aestheticized around like, because when it came out in like 2011 was a big period where like the Wii and DS had just become popular. Phone games were getting had been popular the past few years. Phone games were coming into vogue, and so there was like this horrible primal shriek from people who considered video games to be for them that, no, the only good video games are the games for me.
Yeah.
And so you produce marketing that says, this is a game for you, and only you, the strong player, can complete it. No babies here. Get out, women.
Only you, the most fucked up of little guys.
There was a wonderful line I read or I heard from like a video essay. It was just like, I hate to burst your bubble, but I, the loneliest of the lowliest of stoners, beat this game. So
it is not just for true Doom murder heads.
Yeah, it is absolutely like, and from that same bit where it's like, it puts like the empowerment in Empower Fantasy in some ways, where it's just like, it's meant to make you feel like you've overcome something. And
like there's a strong power fantasy in like, because so many things in our lives are things we can't overcome, that we can't just beat into submission. So there's a strong power fantasy to fighting something that's hard and winning, and it stops getting to do things to you.
Yeah, and it goes back to from the same essay. It's wonderful. Where it's just like, don't tell somebody who works a 9-to-5 job that life is unfair. They know, or like, and it's like, but also it's not about like overcoming something that's unfair. It's overcoming something that's hard but fair. Like, like you said, it's a really fascinating point that like that Souls games. It sucks their marketing is like that, I guess.
Yeah, like I hate like, because that's like something that's like percolated in my brain for years and years and years. I think that like, even though I'm satiated on them for now, I'll go back to them because I do like them a lot, and I do. But I hate that the marketing was so like gamer poisoned, and that that it becomes difficult to discuss what I think they're really good at while trying to cut around who they inevitably attracted.
I think I both hate that, and also extraneously I'm salty that this is not a new conversation. This is like,
not even slightly.
Like this has got to be as old as like literally when it came out. Like Dark Souls specifically, like that.
Yeah.
I mean, as was said,
so
Dark Souls
annoying.
came out at that time when the whole what was it? Blue Ocean was the thing.
Blue Ocean was the name of the economic strategy. This idea of like expand the kind of person who plays games beyond the assumed late teens, early 20-somethings male to, anyone can play games. And now everyone does play games, and we've actually hit a point where the ocean has been explored to every trench and tranche, and now it's not actually possible to expand the audience anymore, and so everything is crashing. Have fun. But that's not even...
Oversaturation?
It's not even oversaturation. It is because by any logical, like, if corporations were logical, it would just be, oh good, we have found the entire addressable market. It's everyone. Okay, that's good. The problem is, corporations, especially tech corporations' response is, but how do we sell more?
Mm-hmm.
And so
you do need that.
Finding people. Can we find?
You do need that infinite growth.
Yeah, and it's infinite and exponential.
Because stockholders.
We have reached the end of the addressable market because we've run out of humans. And so now we must find ways to bleed out we need to make each of those humans spend for infinitely more.
So
I didn't have microtransactions if you're lucky. God.
There was a wonderful and almost dated now, but like incredibly snarky. Hear me out before I say this. Of all things, a board game called Greed Incorporated. Greed, Incorporated, and it had this wonderful mechanism that that to me explained like this dichotomy of just like the incentivizations for just being as greedy as possible. And the gimmick of the game was that your winning points wasn't necessarily the money you made, though you did need that. It was how much you could show off to your other rich friends what you got. And the only way that you got your personal money to do this was to parachute out of other companies that were breaking. So the goal was in this game, and not was to basically ride a company to its limit, and then parachute out at the last minute to get the most money to afford the ever increasing cost of your show off items. It was just like the most. And every time I look at like, and it was so weird because every time I look at things that go on in like market incentives for that kind of, for like some decisions that just seem absolutely backwards, I think back to that game of like, what would make sense for somebody trying to parachute off and try to show off how many more yachts they have than somebody else? It makes way more sense than I'm comfortable with.
I don't think so.
That sounds like a game that's a little too close to reality for me.
Well, what was great or awful is that I was playing this and we were having like a fun time laughing at the searing satire of it, and then somebody paused was like, "Man, people do this in real life." We just all paused and was like, "Shit."
The other funny thing to me about that story is also, if you're unaware, the original board game Monopoly was basically supposed to get
the fabulous game of finance.
Yep.
And the funny thing about Monopoly is not only is it a game that people don't get that from and play it in a manner of speaking straight, but it's also a game that's been marketed in 7,000 different ways, because now you can get like your hometown themed Monopoly. Buy it for $20.
I mean, it's also a case of like Monopoly is also one of those situations where like the mechanics of how humans play games like immediately undercut its own message because like no one like the vast majority of players don't want to play cutthroat, and that's the only way to resolve Monopoly quickly and in like a reasonably entertaining manner, but it's also miserable if you're trying to play it with children especially.
Yeah.
I can attest to this.
I'm honestly curious to myself how the game I was talking about would be played among like children. I really am, because like it is very much like it lays out the goals up front. Like it's not like Monopoly or modern day Monopoly or whatever, where like it kind of like tries to hide the.
Like basically, no one plays Monopoly by the actual rule set.
Right. And this one like it's not hiding it. Like one of the like there's a company's name that's basically a very legalistically distinct satire parody version of Enron. There's one named Seedy, which I think is there's a company, or maybe there still is a company that like sounds very similar to that IRL, just like
the Enron thing tells us of a very specific time when this would have been produced.
This was like mid 2000s, yeah.
Yeah, that's when you would use Enron as the byword.
Yeah, very, but like, so I wonder if like
2008.
Then it would just be every company.
Actually, when did this come out? I think it was 2006, weirdly enough, but or not.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's. But yeah, it's definitely a case where it's like it'd be hard to detach the incentives for being a total jerk from its rule set. Where I feel like Monopoly is slightly more. Especially if you like the house rules that it has, slightly more forgiving of that.
Yeah, I mean, like Monopoly has the issue of things like just the notion of what you're actually attempting to monopolize being actually less clear.
Oh, this came out in 2009, to be clear.
Okay, so a little later than I'd expected.
Have that kind of satire.
Right, well, it may have been in development at the
development during it and probably extra committed to it, yeah.
Right. Just nope, now we gotta just follow through.
Oh no, it absolutely is committing to the bit though. Like it's not trying to be like lighthearted about it, it's trying to be like absolutely stake in the heart about this. Like literally the motto on the website, on like the board game website is crash, burn, and steal company money to buy that private jet first.
Subtle.
Not subtle, yeah.
Honestly, like it's a wonderful, like scathing, like indictment of all of this. Like it's a game of corporate malversions and greedy executives. Like you don't play as like a company, you play as a family that's making rich money off of companies. Like it's The only reason I like the game. The only reason I don't like it more is because like it is ultimately like the mathy money game that like the econ sim that like Beat and Fanboy would like pile drive me onto the table for
onto through.
Say again?
Onto no through.
Yes. Absolutely.
This is not a kind pile driver. This is a pile driver meant to damage.
This is a power bomb. Horolu would be jealous.
I'm going to go get myself a drink. I'll be back.
I'm about to
might do the same, but yeah.
Yeah, but that just legit sounds a little too close to home.
It does.
If you work in a corporate environment.
That's another problem with it. Like, and that's the problem with like a lot of some board games. One of the like, there's some ones I like a lot that I think are good, but like One that's aged incredibly poorly is one that's like called Archipelago, and it's about like colonizing like archipelagos in the New World as European people. So that fucking sucks, and I'm not playing that anymore. But even a more recent one that's more aware of it's like literally called John Company, and it's about playing like the East Indian Company, and it even prefaces the whole like game is like this is a very like upfront about you're playing the villains, and
I was gonna say this
you
is
made
not
it.
Aspirational.
No, yeah, like the
Please do
rulebook
not
itself.
plunder nations.
Well, like the board game Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico is a really sorry, go ahead.
If I understand correctly, has fairly recently changed the language in its rule books so that it's not as blatantly slavery focused, for lack of a better.
It has, from what I remember, and I had the original, or the quote unquote original, I don't know, for a while. I gave it to a friend. It always called its like discs the worker discs. The issue was that they were very like dark shaded brown discs as like the worker placement ones, and it's like, oof. Like you look, it's definitely one of those things where you look at it retroactively and like, what were we thinking? Moments.
Yeah, I specifically mentioned Puerto Rico because in the rulebook they're referenced as colonists.
Currently they are. In the original, they were called workers. I think.
I just remember there specifically being a thing about that.
Yeah. You beat the game, by the way, Goggle Bob.
I did. It's here for a good time, not for a long time.
Honestly, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it is a game that it doesn't, like, even for the amount of backtracking that's involved, it doesn't wear out its welcome. Like, and I didn't find all the stuff. It's getting to be midnight. It's time to wrap it up. But there's more to do.
Gabi was right. Hasn't
You played for so long that I got my ass kicked for an entire hour. And he got lasted.
Did you win it all? Did you win, son?
I won. I won 2 sets out of 8. So I ended up going 2 and 6. So yeah.
Isn't there an amazing game recently that came out called A Short Hike? Or not recently, but like 2019.
Yeah, there is a game called The Short Hike, yeah.
Yeah, so like thinking about like games that are just like not long at all, but like absolutely won over people. I'm all for like games that are just like they don't last that long, but set their place. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember back in I guess in the 2000s, the 90s and the 2000s, like games would, advertise like, 80 plus hours of gameplay, and that would always be a plus for me. Whereas now I kind of see that as a negative. Like, if it's gonna be 80 hours, like it better be a damn good 80 hours.
But I mean, I will say that my thought is always like, if I had Breath of the Wild when I was like between 10 and 18, it would have been possibly the most important thing that ever happened in my life. Like, it would have been a game that I probably played for a because I mean, like, I got hours and hours out of games that were legitimately 20 hours long. I cannot imagine having a game of that length when I was a kid and I had essentially infinite time.
Yeah, actually, like, like putting 200 hours into Breath of the Wild in my 30s, and then putting 200 hours into Tears of the Kingdom in my 40s, like, I would have put 1,000 hours in each of those games if they came out when I was in high school.
If I'm like, I might be still playing it as a 13-year-old, somehow breaking time upon itself so I can play more Zelda. But yeah, no, But nowadays, yeah, a game that's like 3 hours, it's like that's good by me. Like I can play this on a stream and I can enjoy it, and we all got to share in the wonder that is whatever that name of this game is. I'm gonna already forget it.
Or is that
something easier to remember, like Wand of Chameleon?
I think it was called Gazette or Gazelle.
I'll fucking fight you both.
I'm sorry. I actually remember the name though. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, it's good. Remember the name. Remember
I would be
well.
much less. I would be much less prone to castigating you if you didn't remember. If you did remember, I should put it this way: if you didn't remember the name, I wouldn't be getting on your case about it. But I am, and that's why I'm getting on your case.
I am a sarcastic nanny. I'm sorry.
But I'm going to officially call the stream because the game has been beaten now, so there's nothing more to play.
Congratulations, by the way.
Everybody have a good night. Thanks for joining us. And have a good one.